My name is Angelika JAKIELA, and I am a human earth angel. I am a humanitarian also. I have a message for all world leaders, all the world religious leaders, and the Pope, and all humans of all job descriptions. In every human job, as all humans know, they are trained and study to do a certain job. All jobs entail a human being working with other humans. All humans always have to respect the dignity, a value of a human life and health, a brain, mind, and soul that is to be respected of every human being and treated properly and cared for, and having in mind that every human has the right to be respected the same way as you as a human being want to be respected and right to be in every way. All the employers consider this when employing new employees and ask the potential candidates that they're going to employ in a certain job that they are trained for if they are going to respect the dignity, the value of another human being and other employees that they're going to work with and the other humans that they're going to affect under them when they are hired. There are strict laws on earth about this that all employers know, all potential employees know, all the world leaders know, and all world religious leaders know. The Pope included knows this. All humans of all job descriptions know this. All head of the pharmaceutical companies in the world, the World Health Organization, all the world leaders in every country, the Prime Minister of Canada, the American President, all the other world leaders of every country, England, Japan, China, Africa, Germany, Italy, Poland, Australia, all countries of the world, all the world leaders, all colleges that employ potential medical doctors, psychiatrists that employ nurses, registered nurses, physiotherapists, medical specialists of all kinds, general practitioners, veterinarians, conservationists, bioethics boards, those that hire the managers, trustees of medical facilities such as hospitals, mental health facilities, emergency rooms, long-term care facilities, the police, the military, all religious worship leaders. In the whole world, all employers, they know the rules. Religious or not, they are subject to judgment under God when they know that they are going to work with humans and employ a human being, they first ask certain questions to their potential employees and ask them if they are going to do everything in their job description that they studied in most cases, some lengthy college studies or university studies, some further specialized studies, to do everything in their job description, in their specific job title, to work with other humans and respect them in all the ways that they deserve to be respected, their dignity of another human being alive in the ways that their job description describes. Such as the police to serve and protect the community, medical doctors, psychiatrists to properly assess the medical and the physical and mental health of patients properly, as they would want a medical professional to treat them with respect and dignity, which is the value of a human life and health of a living human being with a brain, mind, and soul personality that is worth valuable of respecting in every way, to find proper medical care advice for them in proper timing, to do everything in their job description that they studied that to help this human with their health, to promote proper health, proper counseling, to help mention advice rather for proper medical care, refer them to another specialist, to care for the human and respect them as they would want to be respected and cared for as a human being. Other jobs such as world leaders, the Canadian Prime Minister, the American President, all the other world leaders, no, they study long years. Their job and their job description, including the Pope, who is the human representative of God on earth, have a huge responsibility of respecting the lives of 100 million employees and 100 million people that are affected by these employees that they employ, and the boards, the bioethics boards, head pharmaceutical companies, FDA, World Health Organization, police departments, military. The all world leaders deal with them, consult with other countries. World leaders, the Pope has a huge say. They are all studied, have and trained to know by law on earth and under God, sworn oath to God, one asked by their employers if they're going to do everything in their job description to respect all their potential employees and all the humans under them, that their job description entails them to respect in all ways the human dignity of every human being. 100 million people in each country that each world leader knows by law has to and under God doesn't get away with if they don't do their job rather entirely in their job description, that they have the resources and the financial resources to accomplish, to respect the dignity of all humans that they employed as I stated, and all to care to hire proper medical colleges and psychiatric ones, and to that those employ and screen for to employ under God morally right have to, or they can't make their paycheck. Proper medical doctors, proper psychiatrists to assess them properly before they employ them. If they're gonna do a proper job what they studied, which is to properly assess the health of patients, if they're gonna be up to date in the proper up to recent medical care, to follow up on who they employ, the psychiatrists, nurses, colleges, to hire proper nursing staff to assess them if they will do a proper job after studied for years with the intent of caring for patients to help them, to assess if these people are actually going to do their job. If not, they're not going to hire them. It is a big paycheck. But unfortunately, in the world, I am a victim over 20 long years of serious medical negligence of many psychiatrists, medical doctors, medical facilities well known in Toronto, Canada. Unfortunately, intelligent human me, a victim for 20 long years, over 2 decades, of humans not doing their job, starting at the high level, the Prime Minister, many for years. There's others like myself seen in Canada, in Toronto, CAMH, Mount Sinai Hospital. That was in Toronto and other places in the world, in America, Australia mainly, other countries. Medically negligent staff. The ones I was wrongly affected by are approximately 50 medically negligent doctors and psychiatrists that had a second paycheck wrongly affiliated with the head University of Toronto. They illegally wronged me and hundreds of patients for over 20 years. They made the $400,000 to $1 million a year, an extra paycheck at the University of Toronto and other universities. And then separately 50 to 100 medically negligent nurses and registered nurses. They wronged my life and hundreds of others for over 20 years. And on disability funding, ODSP, which is nothing for a human that was a victim, is a few $100 for a whole month to live, which is not enough in Canada where it's cold to pay for a hotel room, just a basic washroom and bed with no food, but to keep out of the cold for a disabled brain damaged human for one night, and has to last for 30 days and nights. I'm the victim. I was wrong because the Prime Minister didn't look into who they were letting into the country to practice psychiatry, and medical doctors and the board trustees that in the hospitals that work there that deal with these staff, these medically negligent doctors and psychiatrists wrongly pushing antipsychotics and ECT on hundreds of people for over 20 years in CAMH alone. An emergency of CAMH and Mount Sinai Hospital, the most inhumane living conditions there for patients, and wrongly most admitted illegally, some most newcomers that don't know English and wrongly put there on forms that weren't educated and don't know English, kind-hearted humans, young and old, wrongly put there to kept in the mental wards with no food and nutrients recommended, no meal replacement, no nutritious food, and had to live there with nothing to do there, especially during COVID times, couldn't go out for air in poorly circulated air rooms with absolutely nothing to do and starving to death. With these rude psychiatrist doctors work there. I know I'm a victim, but intelligent human didn't need to be there. And over sedated on many dangerous antipsychotics, clozapine, olanzapine, risperidone, paliperidone, loxapine, benzodiazepines, Abilify, that severely damage the brain are never cures, as everyone knows in the world. Should never be on the market. They're pushed illegally by these medically negligent, heartless psychiatrists that clearly shouldn't be working there, but are well known. Their head clinical scientists, researchers, work there smiling, write a paycheck, never look the patient in the eye because they know they're doing wrong and leave, and say they're going to come back in 2 weeks, write a prescription and leave. They ask one question, how's your mood, and leave. After that, patients, they assume the doctors prescribed them something proper, but they didn't. They don't need it at all. They're never informed about this. They're never informed of getting proper supplements and nutritious food that they actually need only, and especially to lessen the side effects, such as omega-3 for the proper brain and heart health. The main ones, vitamin D and the B complex and vitamin C to reduce oxidative stress on their physicality, proper amino acids for the brain to function, and exercise to recommend. That's what they actually need. I never recommended this. Humans there when need these the most, not these dangerous antipsychotics, but really need them. A healthy diet, well, to reduce the side effects of these dangerous antipsychotics and benzodiazepines and ECT. These humans are never recommended this by any staff. Some I've seen, I fought for my own life there. An intelligent human knew about this, what I need, nutritious food and everything. And I didn't even need these dangerous antipsychotics or ECT, but was illegally given them. And there's still people there employed and still investigating when I don't have money for medical negligence lawyer rather. The human victim wrong, lost whole university education. A young human, wrongly admitted there on fake terms. General terms, schizophrenia, psychosis. These are general terms that I choose gone from the world. An intelligent human, honored bachelor in life sciences of all fields, know about all the ethics, had my brain illegally damaged in health for over 2 decades. I had a blood clot and had to go to medical ward. To save my life, they wrongly put me on wrong blood thinners and put me in mental ward so they had a patient. And I don't have a medical lawyer, couldn't afford to get out of it. On ODSP, Ontario Disability Support Program, which the Prime Minister had $1 million and billions of dollars has to put funding to help humans in this situation, and morally obligated in his paycheck what he's making to do in his job description, or he cannot make his paycheck under God and by law. The previous prime ministers and the current one didn't put funding into this ODSP. For me and 100 million people, well, even in these facilities and then after, let go with severe brain damage that they didn't need were victims because they didn't look into hiring proper medical staff and psychiatrists that illegally pushed pills, illegal, dangerous antipsychotics that harm human brain over time and never help it. It is obviously known by the whole medical field. This is one of the head pharmaceutical companies, all pushing clozapine, illegally harm these people given for years and cannot be given to humans, as all psychiatrists and medically competent doctors know. It doesn't help anyone. It severely damage their cognitive abilities, memory parts brain. They damage and harm the human physical health in millions of ways. I'm a woman, clearly didn't need these, and was illegally harmed while on blood thinners, endangered life. While they made $1 million paycheck vehicles and warm vehicles, while humans suffered in the cold like myself, and then left homeless, lost my $40,000 degree, couldn't do my own research to help humans had severe brain damage, blood testing over John Wick for 20 years. And they all made their paychecks and the colleges that they hire, the prime minister and then the medical boards after under them, they hire staff that by law and under God know to your question, are you going to do a proper job? To hire proper employees, are you going to do in your job description as it describes to respect human life, humans, your other employees, their dignity of a valuable human, their health, well-being, a human with a soul, a personality that you would want to be respected that way, to be treated that way by this type of medical professional, by this human in this board, medical board, to hire proper medical staff? Are you going to do this job? If you're not, I'm not going to hire you because you affect a lot of human lives. Medical doctors to hire under you, then the doctor is going to have to deal with the patients. If they're not going to care about the patients, they can't be hired. There's hundreds of patients affected even by each doctor, psychiatrist, nurse, and most of them are medically negligent in Toronto, Ontario, Canada alone. They never tell the patient this. And then they are harmed. Some have been in these wards for over 10 years, some 20. Have nothing to do there. No funding almost for any social workers that would help give them all help that they need to find some activities for them, find some place for them to live in the community, more nutrition style that care. There's the ones that care there, but there's no funding for them to have any nutritious food, especially when on these antipsychotics they clearly need all the time the most nutrients possible. When they don't even need these antipsychotics, they harm the brain for what the human doesn't even have a mental health disorder. Almost all humans admitted there do not have any mental health disorder that requires any dangerous antipsychotics, benzodiazepines, or ECT. They're illegally put there, so they have a patient to see once every 2 weeks to a month and leave and write a prescription for human torture, bodily harm against freedom of choice, the brain, and physical health they no right to do. Misinform the patients, and once put on a form there, the rights advisor cannot get them out. Barely, and these have to be changed laws, rules, especially humans that cannot afford an attorney or medical lawyer. Medical negligence is the only lawyer that is not covered by financial aid. But these are the most humans harm illegally, like myself, that need a lawyer and right to sue these people that affect human health and brain health and severely harmed it. When it was their job, sworn under God, to make their $1 million paycheck to help human health, to assess it properly, and to assess that a blood clot, help me in all proper ways for that medical ward and let me go. Not to put me in a mental health form, endanger my life, and find all ways to put me in a ward, mental one, where no woman should be, so they had a patient to keep there. Under a fake term, general term, schizophrenia, psychosis, which is not a specific mental health disorder in any way, endanger my life, and then pass me on from one doctor to another and keep putting on forms. When asked for second medical opinion, because obviously they're not medically competent, would pass me on to another one that went along with them. And they're wrong misdiagnosis, so they have a patient. These are heartless humans working there, but employed by the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Ontario, the Colleges of Nurses of Ontario. The college has hired over 50 to 100 that work with me, would didn't treat a human with dignity, respect in their job description. By law and under God, morally, they don't get away and cannot make their paycheck. Whoever employed these individuals assessed them either the right way or didn't follow up with what they're doing, monitor if they're helping the patients. No one's doing their job from the top down properly. They do some of their job, but not everything in their job description to hire proper employees and monitor after if they're actually doing right to other humans. They're not respecting human dignity. They cannot do their job. The Prime Minister, Medical Council of Canada, the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Ontario, still investigating after over a year and a half, turn to which they could put these humans in prison right away, take away their medical license, have all medical files to prove over 20 years of medical negligence of some of them, and others throughout those 20 years. To put them in prison right away, take away whatever paychecks by law they made illegally and harm the patient, which they cannot do with this paycheck in their job as a doctor, as a psychiatrist, as affiliated with the U of T, to take away that paycheck. They illegally bodily harmed a human brain, physical health of a woman who chose to be healthy if children can't because of dangerous side effects, knocked out unconscious, fasted had to for 8 hours, then general anesthesia harmed vein, illegally stopped blood thinners to put my brain electrocuted bilateral ECT, caused seizure in a human woman that chose to be healthy and didn't need it at all when they stated I was doing fantastic. I had no mental health disorder and illegally put me through this for over 10 times a year. Little children there and old people clearly didn't have to be there, so brain damage and put through illegal ECT. And antipsychotics, humans still there and kept in a ward with rodents that they all doctors know cannot be in buildings with medical humans with medical concerns, mental health, brain disorders, because they potentially spread bacteria and virus, potentially the coronavirus and their variant strains. They did nothing, all 100 staff over years, and during COVID times and SARS over the years. They know this, they studied this, they did nothing to help the patients there. Humans complained there. That some of them wanted to listen, maybe filed ahead as the head department to get exterminated. Other ones left it alone. There's mice running around there eating food. This cannot happen. Obviously, I'm educated in life science, what doctors know, but other human patients are not, mostly all of them. Put there, over sedated, overdosed on clozapine, huge market, illegal all the time. Even by choice, humans are so misinformed about it, it does not help anyone. Doctors are leaving out that it can only be given if there's a laws restricting clozapine to be given to patients only if certain rules apply. They cannot be first offered clozapine. Clozapine in itself is illegal human torture. It is never justified by God. There's no right reason for clozapine to be given to any human alive. ever. It disrespects the dignity of a human life to be harmed, the brain, so many ways, and physical health, and over the long run damages the brain more, especially for someone that doesn't have a brain disorder. And even the ones that do, it doesn't help. It in the long run makes it worse. It is never a cure, causes human physical health to fail, too much visceral fat on the belly, causes potentially diabetes in a human with severe will have sugar problems over the years, cognitive thinking impairment severely. A human cannot think, function to do a job for life. A human heart has to be checked. Frequent blood testing leaves human weak. Wounds in the vein, venipuncture. A human needs a high amount of nutritious food with proteins. Omega-3s help the brain, the heart, potassium, vitamin D to help the immune system, vitamin C to release the oxidative stress on the physicality, reduce the side effects, amongst a lot of other nutritious food and counseling. A human needs this counseling itself and nutritious food in most situations with mental main health disorders for a human to be healthy and to live a happy life, including depression. But these negligent psychiatrists and doctors and those employing them in the colleges give them their license and then follow up on these, and whoever hired them obviously went along with them. They didn't do their job to assess these humans. I can clearly tell, and I'm only a human study life sciences, what the doctors know, and I can tell right away that these humans are already pushing pills, that they don't even get their English right in terms of medical terminology entirely. They don't look a patient in the eye. They clearly, whoever hires and works in this College of Physicians and Surgeons of Ontario, for example, nurses that they deal with, the College of Nurses of Ontario, is not doing their job. They are making their $1 million and endangering lives and ruining the lives of patients, young minds, humans that child worked hard, such as myself, for example, walked far, poor. Basically, in Canada, most people, a child is not easy to find a job to pay for a university or college. Unfortunately, this is supposed to be funded for years to learn for a child to work that much in a basically for $7 in a factory only job confined or in a store for many hours for a few dollars and then have to save to pay for university is almost impossible for college just to learn so then they can save money after that, get a job, a bit better paycheck to save over the years just to get a house to live in out of the cold and food. I lost my university degree because the medically negligent staff that the colleges employed were they're the ones under God did wrong. They know by law they can't. They have to turn their paycheck in and help the victims. The head medical council of Canada, they deal with these matters too, but they, when I turn to them, refer me to the colleges. The college is still investigating. The doctors are still working there and no harming these patients, other ones. They're ruining their life, the quality of life. They're not improving, and these humans are illegally harming them so they have a patient, a client. They have done this for over 2 decades. I have been in these wards, inhumane, disgusting, non circulated air rooms in Canada. Medical care here. What medical care is illegal human torture. They have the $1 billion Even new facilities they open, but do not move the patients there to these nice rooms. I was wrongly admitted and couldn't get out. Even rights advisors cannot get a human out for 3 days, would require human to pay for a medical lawyer, an attorney, to get them out, and even put by accident, don't choose and illegally on a form. So they have a patient there, an emergency. CAMH did this to me over the years. I had a medical concern and could have left, assessed properly, and let go clearly. It's not for human to be admitted to a center for addiction and mental health with no mental health disorder. To be kept there for 3 days, so they have passed to another doctor to have a job, paycheck, another nurse then consulting me, and then fought against this toll, but no lawyer, money to be, and then put on a form illegally to stay there for 3 days, freezing to death with no food. Because I'm not a patient there, they don't put the effort to give me to do their job, but they have to respect my health and life to put me on a meal plan as long as I'm there to give me food. I cannot go to buy food and a right to eat. Would I choose to get supplements? What I need? A medical concern had and right to be let go, assessed properly. They know. They put on a form, so stay there 3 days, and even rights advisors cannot get a human out for 3 days. And I could have had to wait 3 days, freezing to death with no meals, no water for 3 days and nights. That's 3 meals a day or night. Sleep the next 3 days with nothing to do. There's no activities there. The negligent staff always on break. The nurses always planning their vacation. Is true. They're rude. I fought to get my own jacket so I don't freeze to death. They didn't do in their job description to help me. And said they'd get it, and then hours go by. Then told they're supposed to get me and as soon as possible. Then the next staff came and I said they didn't get me their jacket, mine, and then they said, "Oh, I'll get it." And then the next one goes and they don't do anything either. And the humans mistreated me and seen all these 100 other people, hundreds for years, in Toronto, the well-known city in most in the world. And these humans make $1 million, have heated vehicles, $1 million each. Then I'm let go on the street, barely get out of there, which I didn't need to be there. Don't have money for a lawyer, could sue them immediately and put them in prison for illegal human torture for 3 days and nights, left freezing to death with no food. And didn't have to be there. And while they made the $1 million, so they have a human patient there to make a paycheck. And that one night alone was assessed and different handed to different patient doctors, psychiatrists that all went along with it, over 10 of them and more, and made their $1 million. They go home smiling, talking on their phone, happy, while I'm suffering, and I was barely let go. And then this prime minister, and then hiring these boards that interviews them, but doesn't follow up on them. And then those boards, the medical boards, these are medical doctors, negligence too, working there. They're not following up on looking at any of these doctors that work there. They all go along with all of them. They're the well-known ones that they know the patients even online. State are the worst pill pushers, rather. They're doing illegal research on humans and publishing in PubMed and well-known psychiatric journals. Subject matter that is misinformation clearly, that is they state that it's been on proper human trials when it's not, it's illegal. Humans didn't consent to it. And what the result of it, what they write on papers, is clearly not true. It doesn't even make sense in a sentence at all, but are published there online and in these journals. And wrongly teaching at U of T, affiliated for over 20 years. Made the extra $1 million, what I suffered for years and lost worked hard to do. Didn't have children and homeless for over 20 years. and live on the street, no disability money, and they had to put it into funding for these victims and morally obligate under God to turn their paycheck in and put them in prison. The investigation apparently still going on. What investigation? So the college has a job for human to keep pushing the issue, to call every month and say, how's the investigation going? Did you put them in prison? Oh, I'm gonna get investigator now. You already got an investigator, I told them. They wronged my life for 20 years. Put them in prison. They're crying on the phone, oh, it's beyond wrong what happened to you. And then they call them, and then they follow up in 2 weeks. Oh, we're setting the board meeting date for it, or the committee meeting. What meeting? Look at the patient record. They tortured me and put a criminal charges on this doctor, take away the license that they have a job to do and have to undergo do right away, and put it in prison, that doctor. Psychiatrists, they didn't do their job. And it goes turn to months. It's been a year and a half. And those doctors are wronging other patients and making the $1 million still. Under God, they cannot do it, they don't get away with. But these ones are still working there, so they have a job. The colleges, the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Ontario that I know of, the College of Nurses of Ontario, there's other ones in the world, in America. There's hundreds of ECT clinics, there are many in the world. These are well-known, affiliated with universities that work there, and these humans still go along with them. ECT, electroconvulsive therapy, the name therapy is misleading, is misinformation, is never therapeutic or beneficial to human health. It is torture, especially against human freedom of choice. I didn't consent to it. They cannot give it to me. All doctors know. All psychiatrists know. There's 10 in each clinic working there. Doctors, psychiatrists, the board, member at CAMH ECT in Toronto, still working there. They harmed many people rather, for years. And the college still investigating. Didn't put them in prison right away, and I don't have money for a medical negligence lawyer to sue, would win a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against the facilities. These humans working there illegally know, they smile all the time, but never look a patient in the eye, because they know they're morally doing wrong. Children were wrong there. Old people clearly didn't have to be there. The secretary that goes along with it, the physiologist, anesthesiologist, there's the brain specialist, there's the board, there's a new temerity of opening these buildings, dealing with ECT. They all go along with it. They make the $1 million, but the human patients are suffering, and they then are disabled with no disability. This is not only in Ontario, Canada. The human patients are then on the street begging for food, even while admitted to these facilities, have millions of dollars and have to give them nutritious food. They give them a disgusting muffin, maybe one box of milk a day, and a piece of chicken that's disgusting, is not edible. And the humans, they throw it out because they can't eat it. And then after push the issue, they don't have nutritious food. I was there. I lived through it, and starving, and an antipsychotic is not allowable. Human, and then over sedated, and then harmed more the brain and physicality, and knocked out to sleep, over sedated, so they sleep or given these, such as clozapine, for 12 hours. No vitamin B12 recommended morning. Help to reduce certain side effects. No B complex they need, no omega-3s, their heart failing. No one tells them they can't smoke. They're all going outside smoking. These illegal human tortures. What I'm getting at, I used my own examples, but this goes on in the world. of all humans, it is your job to care for other humans when employing other humans, to assess them properly. There are a lot of people that would care and actually do their job right and study many years and pay the money and need this job to get money to pay for the studies and then have a job, and would actually care in their job description, do everything they're trained to do to help humans. That's what jobs are intended for, to help other humans. Some other jobs entail helping animals, some entail helping nature. Everything helps a life of another human, affects another animal, the life of nature, to be respected, the dignity that they have, of God with them, religious or not. They are a valuable human life that is worth respecting. Their brain, mind, organs, physicality, they have emotions, to be treated, remember, all employers, as you would want to be treated as a human, fairly. You have to assess potential employees to make sure and ask them if they're under God, they don't get away with it, they're gonna do a morally right job to deal properly with the other humans that they are working with in their job. Medical doctors, for example, with their patients, if they're gonna treat them with respect to help their health. If not, they cannot be employed. They cannot make a paycheck under God to disrespect human health. This would endanger all the patients. They don't have the right to disrespect any patient life this way. They have a human life worth respecting, to be treated with respect. Their health, their brain and physical health, cannot be harmed by another human, such as a medically negligent doctor, to make a paycheck and not care for the patient. If a patient is harmed, then a doctor is morally obligated to turn his paycheck in. Help the victims say he has to get his license taken away by the hiring college and put in prison. Is criminal charges for harming a human life and health, disrespecting them, if they're rude, has no right to do, to offend a human life, a woman, to be rude to them, a psychiatrist, a nurse, many I dealt with, had no right to disrespect me this way. I had a bright future, could have helped 100 million people with research for years, couldn't do. They put me on a form, paper, so they had a patient client. Rude, left suffering, starving with non nutritious food. Dangerous antipsychotics, needed supplements of all kinds. Food, didn't give it to me. I fought when I was intelligent, needed these, and asked myself many times before they even gave me one, which they're no right to do. They're supposed to help human health. They didn't do this in Toronto. CAMH, Mount Sinai Hospital. There's many people told over time, but they don't have the money for these medical negligence lawyers. Medical negligence lawyers, rather. These all humans have to do what is morally right. All the employers to assess, look into who you employed, follow up on them, starting with the Prime Minister, the President of the United States, the Pope, the human representative of God on earth, has huge authority, say with the world leaders, to make sure everyone has enough funding for homes, disability. Keep in mind, disability, if a human is disabled, they cannot work. So if they have a brain, certain disorder or damaged, have brains or nerves, they clearly cannot work but are a human and worth needs to be taken care of with proper staff funding, which is the $1 billion that they have easily give for funding for disability and have to do. It is beyond human control when they especially care for health and become disabled. A human is not disabled. Keep in mind, all world leaders and those dealing with ODSP, Disability Support Program in Ontario and everywhere in the world. A human that is disabled cannot work. To get the basic necessities of life, such as in Canada, it's too cold to live. Mostly all the year is sub-zero temperatures. A human cannot work 100 million seconds, potentially their whole life, because they have a brain certain disorder are damaged. They are crippled in some way, physically impaired. Some are blind. Most are victims of medical negligence, such as myself, because of mainly psychiatrists of these mental wards that push wrongly ECT, memory damage for life, human, such as myself, had no right to do. Clozapine, humans with bright futures, have their lives myself, taken driver's license away, worked hard as child to learn to drive in the cold, but can't. Harmed brains, organs, forced to live on the street with ODSP. Few hundred, not even for one night out of the cold in a hotel room, but a human already victim because the government of Canada and the hiring colleges and the doctors didn't do their job under God, what they're supposed to are hired for the purpose to respect human dignity and patience of their lives, that they would want to be treated with respect, hire proper colleges that hire these doctors to look into it if they're doing their job properly, if they're treating the patient fairly. If not, then fire them, don't hire them. They're not following up on any of this. Hundreds of people suffering, not only in Ontario. Disability, then, especially their victims, the Ontario government has to look into this, and they didn't care enough in their entire job description to follow up on this. Is their job under God and by law to do. They have to give back their paychecks. The ones that in colleges didn't do their job and hired the staff, didn't follow up. They have to give back their paychecks under God and by law. They cannot make paychecks for harming humans. These are high paychecks, and these would be given to humans that would care, are supposed to, and do their job, to be employed to help patients, to hire proper colleges that hire the proper doctors, care, respect human valuable life dignity of a human, to maintain proper quality of life, have best interest in their life to help them. A woman doesn't want to harm life, wants to have children, doesn't want brain damage, to make sure they have proper doctors that care, assess proper health, not to give, push dangerous antipsychotics or ECT on children, but did. Don't follow up on it. Antipsychotics, old people clearly don't need it. Humans already with brain disorders, certain ones need proper health and counseling, aren't given it, are pushed clozapine or Abilify. Abilify is illegal brain torture. No one can think, has a completely cognitive thinking ability impaired. These are illegal, these are poisonous essentially to brain and physical health, and then damage the brain and health. Any competent medical doctor, psychiatrist, all head world leaders know this. They still don't put and go and morally obligate under God and by law, religious or not. They all know this. They cannot make their paycheck, and million lives were lost. They cannot make their paycheck if they did morally wrong. They didn't hire proper caring staff when they assessed them, and they're different, didn't follow up on them, and they wrongly harm human lives like mine. Some for is 2 long decades, over 20 years. No job I could have. I lost my as a varsity figure skater, cannot exercise skate, overdrawn blood, frequent testing, clozapine huge market, pharmaceutical company made $1 million, FDA, illegally working there, no one stopping them. Under God, they don't get away with it, but they wronged human lives. They have to, and the Prime Minister and the American President are morally responsible to do their job, to look into these and make sure these staff are fired. Whoever's running the FDA, the Prime Minister, has a say in this, and then the Federal Drug Administration, the American president, has a huge say in this and has to fire whoever's running it, illegally pushing dangerous antipsychotics that have enough years of research clearly stated that these are illegal drugs that never help anyone, cannot be given to any human alive, clearly. But it kept pushing this huge market of clozapine, clozaril, and these pharmaceutical companies, they didn't close the doors and go along and have a huge market with the pharmacies that go along, and pharmacists as well, illegally taking the filled prescriptions and giving to the patients, barely assessing their health if the doctor made a right decision. All the patients that I've seen, and didn't even need these, are put on forms stating schizophrenia, a general term, wrongly assessed, mental health, which they can't even prove, and all these patients don't have a mental health disorder at all. In general terms, schizophrenia. These I told, and I have another video, an intelligent human victim, that a million lives will be saved to get rid of this term entirely from the world, and no more people illegally put on a form schizophrenia, and then for the wrong reason of this, put in a mental ward when they have to be in a medical one. Then treated with respect, assessed proper medical health, and let go. Not kept in mental wards with disgusting, stale air, with people injected with things and brain damage, yelling things no human wants to hear, and women, children illegally harmed, lose their bright futures, what they learn, education harmed there with no nutrients given to them. Most newcomers with high hopes of coming to Canada, to a land of opportunity, to another country's port, and came here to get a job, and have brain damage for life, are not informed, barely have translators. And these doctors, the psychiatrists, put them on a form. They don't know what this means, not informed, and kept there and stated, "Oh, here's your antipsychotic and the schizophrenia," and they don't know what this means, and no one to help them, saying that you don't have to be there. You don't have schizophrenia is a general term to ask the doctor what they really think you have. What the actual name of a specific brain disorder is. They never say to the patient because they're making it up. Psychosis, millions admitted there. This is a general term, obviously. It is not a specific mental health disorder. This needs gone from the world, and mania too. As I stated, the whole world needs to smarten up all that are employing. You're hiring illegal tortures and millions of people suffering, and you have no right to do. This suffering's been done. Humans with bright futures and poor as it is, but studied, like myself, lost university degrees, but could have used that to make money, even to stay out of the cold over the years and have a family and actually do something with a proper job like research to save lives, but couldn't because of severe brain damage. No money to live. They have to put the old doctors, medically negligent ones, and psychiatrists, other doctors that know about this but did nothing. There's ones that know, that are clean-minded ones, but they do nothing to get rid of the ones that are actually medically negligent either. The boards and trustees, all medically negligent. CAMH, Mount Sinai Hospital, disgusting, inhumane places. Is true, not only me, other humans know. Avoid these places at all costs. That's a separate thing I'm mentioning from this video, but it's true. And all human and staff employed there, no one following up to this, so it's clean, to respect a human as they would want to be respected, to have proper medical care and let go. Most places, medical, as everyone knows, for example, are too cold anyway. Humans need to be assessed properly. They could help regulate, put this modern day proper temperature regulating devices, help patients care for their health. They have all the resources to do. The prime minister to put funding into it, say Justin Trudeau, the American president Biden. They're not doing anything. Over the years and previous ones, world leaders, other countries disrespected human lives under God and morally by law. They cannot do this. They have to turn their paychecks in if they result of a human harm, rather, a human life. They knew when they were employed, they're going to affect their lives and employ a million people under them in each country. If they're not going to respect all human lives and they have the $1 billion to put into disability, say ODSP, for example, to care for disabled people after they left medically negligent staff working there, then to look into it, and even if they file a complaint and can't afford a lawyer, to have a staff member there and put them in prison out of respect of the patient, take away their paycheck as they by law have to do. They couldn't make their paycheck because they harmed someone, didn't help their health. What their job description actually was to do, to help human health, brain health, physical health, and use that paycheck to rectify, to help the victim. So they have money to live that they could have made themselves, but couldn't and can't afford a medical negligence lawyer to sue them, put in prison, but have a right to sue for punitive damages also for the money they could have made themselves, for the reason that they harmed the human illegally, such as myself, had no right to do. And I could use this money to live then. And I have the right and millions other victims in Canada alone, in Toronto, especially of CAMH, Center of Addiction and Mental Health, Mount Sinai Hospital. None of them can afford a medical negligence lawyer and $30,000 for a court fee date. This is disrespectful of human life. And then keep in mind, in a million seconds, a human has no money, disability needs for a month alone would need $250 just for basic hotel room to stay out of the cold and have a washroom, a little bed maybe with microwave, is approximately times 30 days for 1 month, plus cost for food each day and night, 3 meals essentially, snacks, clothing, money to do something in their life, especially victims wrong. This is thousands of dollars need to be given to a human for basic respect of their life when disabled and more, to respect their life, just to live off the cold, to have enough food that they could make themselves, but are memory damaged every second for life because of it. Have a brain damage, can't think properly. They were wrong illegally, didn't deserve it. The prime minister didn't look into who they were hiring or didn't follow up, is morally responsible for that human being harmed by not hiring the proper colleges. The colleges didn't hire proper staff. They made the $1 million no right to do. They have criminal charges against them and have to be put in prison. The same with the American presidents. All of them have criminal charges. They didn't do everything in their job description to help and maintain. They could easily look in, spend less time on their summits. They do a main job discussing, that's one thing, but they have the $1 billion to help the funding for proper medical care. Isn't they cannot say they don't? I see in Ontario funding for police cruisers, $1 million that they don't need 2 cops showing up to ask someone how they're doing, driving around for hours paying for the gas when they clearly not doing anything and could put that money, as they know, to help disabled people such as myself because they wrong them and have to do, obviously. I would love to work, I'm not lazy, and it would help save lives. But I can't. I was wronged and harmed brain. and a nocturnal cold with general anesthesia, and human fasting illegally given this for 8 hours in the cold wait in the morning. First come, first serve, who gets there earlier. Or if they don't, they have to wait till the lengthy many people there on ECT are prescribed illegally. And some stay there hours before and they're starving, fasting, before inject when there's no blood left, water in the veins, nutrients to the brain, knocked unconscious, and electrocute alive. Seizure induced, no one wants a seizure, and memory damage for life. Is not a second, a life. Humans fear for their life and don't need to go through this at all. I went through over 10 times a year, fought against this, but I had no money lawyer to get out of it. Money for a lawyer, rather, I didn't have to get out of it. And no human does. But these are morally responsible humans that employ these doctors, psychiatrists, at a CAMH, hopefully not, but misinforming students affiliated with the U of T as professors when they work there, the future minds of the future of the world, studying one of the best well-known universities in Toronto. Others happened in Harvard, in America, different countries. Medically negligent staff illegally research push pills, writing them negligent misinformation journal, mainly psychiatry. This is deal with articles. Clearly don't make sense in English language. Whoever published that is doing wrong, beyond wrong. If a human learns from this, a student misinformed, they might harm another patient misinformed inadvertently, and a human life will have a brain damage potentially or harm physical health for life. This is not for a second. A human with his damaged brain has trouble thinking or cannot remember even their name or loved one for every 100 million seconds for the rest of their life, what no human should live through. Side effects, other ones, damage the brain, knocked out with a mask, put on oxygen too tight, and impaired oxygen blood flow to the brain have severe damage, more than memory, just damage. Have some nerve damage for life, muscle contraction, twitches for life, nerve damage, ECT, other injected antipsychotics, clearly not needed. Humans they're illegally put in, and others human crying. This humans have emotions too. Can sue for punitive damage, emotional distress. These are legally and by God, humans can sue because there's something really wrong done to them. Can get money for this and right too. But no one affords a medical lawyer for this. This needs change for especially victims of these ones that they were supposed to hire and care. Prime Minister down to the Medical College Councils of Canada, the hiring colleges. Mine is only example that I know of that I was a victim in Ontario, the province most well known in Canada, in Toronto, others everywhere else in the world. Excuse me. It is human dignity and life that all humans have to be respected, and all employers know and question everyone, and also in business, in the music industry, movies industry, TV shows, all know that they affect who they're going to employ, and a million viewers are going to see these people employ singers, the women ones, men ones, so they're dressed properly attired, that they're a good role model for 100 million viewers. These are under God assessed question, these employers of these humans hiring the singers too, the president, prime minister, and all the world, the Pope, and his job description has to look into that these are doing morally right and hiring the right singers, or the right movies are made, proper education, don't waste human time, to care that they're morally right examples. These are not doing their job, and online monitoring, the Pope not even monitoring the Vatican, false accusations against it of a religion that under God, is morally wrong. No human should see online. This is this is the world is not run by proper world leaders. It has to stop. There's a children needlessly suffering and 100 million people with the worst garbage online, misinformation. There's some that care, doctors, psychiatrists, staff, some in World Health Organization. The rest do some of their job. Now recently, maybe some president, prime minister, pope at time, but all the years they're not really doing their job. Could take the time, look into what their job description actually is, and everyone please do. Listen to this. Tell all the other world leaders of every other country. Take a second, phone them, tell them to watch this video. Please listen. Save the health and lives of 100 million people you're potentially torturing, that you employed staff are suffering ill health, such as my example I put, victims that don't deserve to be mistreated this way. I couldn't have children, but right to do. I would be happy in my life to take care of children for years. Take them to school in a place safe, warm, educated, do my research, save lives. 20 long years. Had worked as a child to figure skate, could have taught Toronto Maple Leafs, NHL goaltenders. I had a bright future, learned through the child, walked in cold to learn, worked even factories to put money. They have second education programs funding thousands of dollars for humans already paid. Good, put that in funding for first so students learn. No one should pay money to learn something so they can have a job just to basically save money for years to get a home. In Canada, it used to be 100,000 rather for a home, approximately just the house. The building, now it's $1 million for the same house. Obviously, no one can afford this. A child should not be able have to work rather, and is in Ontario, Toronto. The funding has to be put into a proper education system. Is not. This is what the prime minister has to look into, and for years didn't. The president of the United States hasn't been doing in all schools. The trustees, they're all employed and ask these questions. Are you going to respect the dignity of all humans? Treat them the way you want to be respected as a human? If you want proper education funding for schools, you would want funding for yourself. And you know the money's there to put it into funding the way you would want to be respected as a human, treated fairly, to hire proper principals, teachers, to make sure you hire proper ones during COVID to care for students. Their humans have lives, needed good role models to close the doors during COVID and very strange times still is entirely gone, which they haven't been doing. They cannot endanger and have no right under God to endanger student lives and other teachers by opening the doors. Priests and ministers, archbishops, open doors, places of worship, which ANGELIKA, human earth angel, humanitarian, ordered closed. Under God, I am a humanitarian, but also a human earth angel with high ranking in heaven on earth, and the purpose of prevent of human suffering and to restore the order in the universe on earth. That's why I'm speaking to the world leaders, to all world religious leaders, to listen. These are God's spoken side words. And under Jesus, humans religious or not, all world religious, all leaders, all world leaders, the Pope, all pharmaceutical company leaders, all employers, then employ humans under them, in business as well. They know and the effect of those companies of humans hiring people, selling the masks, say, for COVID to prevent. The major online retailers. This is the Prime Minister's job, President, Pope, all world leaders to look into these. There are a few main ones, even not easy, is not hard They already know which are the main retailers to look in if they're doing properly selling the masks. They haven't been doing the job. Millions of lives lost, suffered, are morally responsible, have criminal charges because they're not doing everything in their job description to run the country properly, to respect all human dignity, hire proper people, humans, to follow up on those companies that are selling the masks, make sure proper prices, make sure that they are the proper one only on the site. Don't sell any other ones. Make sure it's not sold, advertise any other types of mask, misleading to potential patients, humans, animals, dogs, pets with respiratory tracts on that same site, on that same page of advertisement for put one mask that a human can actually buy. For example, with a clearly stated what the expiry date of the mask is, that is helped to prevent the spread of viruses, specifically these words, what the percentage filtration efficacy rating is for the percentage stated, how much the virus it'll be filtered through the mask, prevented from spreading, and what the clearly state what the material it is made out of, and the certification number, the name of the mask. These are the few things that have to be labeled on the packages online, retailers and 100 million store retailers, that the Pope, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, the President Biden, all the secretaries of state under him, all the other world leaders, all the medical boards, bioethics boards, the World Health Organization, all the different provinces governing under the leaders under Justin Trudeau in Canada, all of the other world leaders in all the countries, England, Germany, France, Poland, Africa, the Pope himself is morally obligated to do this, to follow up with up-to-date information, to check the online retailers such as Amazon, the main ones in Canada, States, and other countries that they know of, and Walmart, Canada, American one. These are $1 million stores, different kinds, well-known ones. These in itself, the main ones, they have all the corporate phone numbers of the head offices. They did nothing to follow up. This is not allowed rather to be done. 100 million people, including myself, suffer looking online to find a proper mask to protect myself and all of them from this horrible virus. I, intelligent human, took over an hour, for me it took, to find one mask with a clearly labeled all information, expiry date, and certification number and percentage, and stating if it was to prevent virus spread, and what it was made out of, polypropylene, if it was a proper mask. N95 mask, 3 or 4 layers, 5, 1, depending on which one I need. And it took me over an hour looking through with a hard strain, trying to find one, and I'm educated. One mask with it labeled all of these. I barely found one, but still iffy if this was proper for my health. It wasn't clearly stated. Most of the images blurred out online, and this is and the rest of the site, there's masks all around it that are fake. Material ones, other ones different colors, clearly can have colors added to it. No human that is not educated in these matters can find one, and buying wrong ones and harming their own lives and others not knowing it. Nothing is stated after all this. I put a video there. What needs to be stated and done in the world? For all world leaders to smarten up, do your job or resign. Give your paycheck to someone who cares, to save the health and lives of 100 million people, which you clearly world leaders didn't do. 100 million people still employed there and suffered with the wrong masks sold, look almost exactly like the ones needed, but don't prevent any virus, but only dust from going through the mask. Children in Walmart have sold masks, colored ones, material ones, millions that don't have to be sold, should not be put on the market. The ones that look like the medical mask, blue and white, most of them prevent dust only, not viruses from spreading, are not stated online, and blurred out images if they prevent viruses or not. Amazon, Walmart. 100 million people view these main ones. Dollar store, in person, go, have no signs after I put this online. And right away, all world leaders had to morally obligate and smart enough to look into this. They have the corporate head office manager phone numbers and have to do when I speak this now. After 4 long years, 100 million day night, they didn't do their job all times. These retailers are being negligent, and 100 million people bought wrong masks, prevent dust, but thought they were preventing virus spread and got ill. Any human that became ill because they didn't do in their job description to follow up on these Amazon retailers to hire someone that cares for human health to sell proper products. The Prime Minister has to look into it. Justin Trudeau better do his job or resign. He has criminal charges. The President Biden has criminal charges against him too. Any on Amazon retailer and any other stores that illegally sold these masks and human lives were lost have criminal charges because they harmed the lives and health and had no right to do, disrespect the dignity of a life value of a human life with a soul, health, brain, physicality that had the right to be informed properly about proper products sold, the proper expiry date, say, and how much percentage it filters out virus. If it filters out viruses, prevents the spread of viruses, not only dust, particles, to inform that a mask, rather, if it has passed the expiry date, can't be sold because it's made of chemicals that break down and is not safe for human use. Might not work properly to filter out viruses then, such as coronavirus and their variant strains. People get sick with respiratory ailments rather, and other aches, different symptoms for 2 long weeks and die. Potentially lose a family member. Human can work, then a child might not have a parent, be living on the street for years in the cold. Then they lose a dog, loved one, a child crying for life. This not happens for a second. These are things that they have to consider in the world. They haven't entirely been doing and cannot do this. They have to do their jobs or resign. They already put to take whatever paychecks they had and resources and help the victims that bought these masks, not knowing exactly, not informed by these retailers being monitored, had to by the president, by the prime minister, by the pope, doing their constant job. Didn't do, were sold there. Pharmaceutical companies made $1 million. Other ones are wrongly certified masks, fake ones, millions of dollars. Humans working could have had made jobs given to those people that care and need a job. Our whole world is poor just for food and shelter. Hire the ones that care to work at Amazon to put one mask on one site that is all needed for one mask for an adult, for a child, for a dog. Properly certified, clearly state all information I mentioned, up to date COVID, even information there, separate from the rest of the site. Anything that's not proper and is made for a different purpose, properly labeled, saying that will not help prevent the spread of coronavirus or variant strains. This is things that had to be done by the president, Biden, Justin Trudeau, They did absolutely not all in their job description to do rather about this early on, maybe did a lot, but the virus is not gone because of what they didn't follow up on. They have no right to do this to humanity. The online retailers, whoever hired them, didn't do their job to employ a caring human that knows they're going to have 100 million people viewing that one main site every day looking for masks. And I, human, as I stated, cannot even find barely one. And it was iffy even when I found that one, if it was proper for my health, is not clearly labeled. If it's even the right price, there's supposed to be funding handed to any human, especially all most people are poor, to give them a proper mask for free. They're handed out in hospitals for free, humans entering, leaving. These could be handed out for free. Funding from the American president hand put into this, the Canadian ones, and find the proper mask, inform people. These are the masks, put a center, a hospital, or somewhere close by. One human can go or can order online to get this and sent free to them to pick it up somewhere close when safe, but to prevent the spread would be find the most safest way to prevent the spread and get access to getting these masks. This is all to be respect the care of humanity. They have the billions of dollars, and you, I'm stating too, the world leaders. Anything that you, the world leaders, and any human in any job description that you didn't do and you could do and you're trained to do to respect another human life, an animal life, nature itself. Every life affects another one, to keep in mind. If you didn't do everything in your job description and it resulted in someone harmed, you have criminal charges against you. You did morally wrong under God. You had no right to do, and under Jesus, religious or not, everyone is subject, knows to morally the right and respect of Jesus, cannot sin in themselves, to do morally wrong, has no right to sin against another human life, to wrong them or harm them in any way, by not doing everything in their job description that they're trained to do. If they are not doing their job in any job, religious or not, all levels, world leaders, religious world leaders, the Pope, pharmaceutical companies, veterinarians, farmers, police officers, military, World Health Organization, FDA especially, whoever's working there, fire them all. Clean it up, get rid of illegal antipsychotic ECT is easily done. Hire a staff member. I know certain things and I further studies could even use my own university knowledge to figure out easily which ones cannot be given to humans. Take the time, find a caring psychiatrist or medical doctor, especially, and up to date research to find out which antipsychotics I label are clearly I know already, which cannot be ever given to human even when they choose. Destroy it, get rid of it properly, safely. Put the funding into nutrition, counseling, and help all mental health patients. Give the money to the victims right away. You're morally obligated under God to do. Put a statement, ask all these people, and ask what you did to tell you wrong. You'll be crying right away. And then you'll know. And these humans have the right to be heard. Their lives were wronged illegally by the head offices, didn't doing their job. The Pope didn't follow up. He doesn't even put a mask on. These world leaders weren't. There's some putting on masks, but every 100 million people keep looking up to them on every TV show. All religious sites in Lourdes didn't Christmas pass, New Year's still pass that. Don't wear a mask. The virus is spread more. It didn't leave, it mutated. It is dangerous more than ever. It will never leave the earth if it's not prevented from spreading. Whoever, then the prime minister, the president, Biden, all other world leaders, inform the other world leaders to watch this video, listen. You are morally obligated under God. You are judged for every time you think and act morally in your job description and all your powers, resources to do. To respect all humans you employ and make sure to follow up they're doing the job and helping the other humans what their job is. If they are not, you have to look into it, fire them. If they wrong someone, make sure they're to ask even there to a forgiveness. They had no right to wrong someone, to harm them, to apologize to them. They are a human worth respecting, have a right to be apologized to by the Pope, by the world leaders, Justin Trudeau, the Canadian Prime Minister, Biden, the American President, the Secretaries of State, the Canadian other provincial ministers, all the religious priests, ministers that didn't care enough to close the doors during COVID and very strange still when it's told it has to be closed. If they hear otherwise, close the doors, still close the doors. This is not allowable. I got rid of all the holy masses, sermons, and practices because they were not proper to human health. Whoever missed and harmed humans for years was wrong. A human now, and during COVID, all places of worship are closed, are mandated by God, and have to be closed till the COVID and variant strains and all other different countries' virus or what is going on in the world is gone. There is no point in human traveling into cold and too warm, endangering 100 million lives and potentially spreading this virus, which needs to be stopped from spreading for the purpose of going to a place of worship of harm, which is clearly too cold or too warm for any human to be for an hour anyway. On a day of rest when it's Sunday for humans to rest. After a long work week, after a long study week, and need to sleep when God is resting on God's day of rest. All religions this applies. I put a new online, merciful information session for all religious congregations Pope to follow for promote physical health, spiritual health, and COVID prevention to be passed on. And world leaders, please follow this, put online. You have to act. This is the new one. Get rid of all religious, all different religion, old masses. They were all harmful to human health, useless. Basic religious information to keep on the sites. The rest can be used to join and welcome all those non-religious too. Is informative, helpful, merciful session to restore for humans to care once every Sunday or Saturday during the week. Can tune in, religious or not, to these parish sites, the Vatican site, for humans to put helpful health hints that they have nutrition, basic human nutrition, info simple for remind humans to sleep after a long work week, rest before the next one. Of all job titles, can tune in, short version, spiritual, how humans can use their virtues to help others, a mercy act, to help others what they learn, to help them, and then prevent and up-to-date COVID information. The ministers, Vatican, can tune in, parishioners, religious or not, the world leaders, look on the sites, make one their own, promote these on the TV shows, and there'll be a whole world helped in a short, merciful, mercy act of humanity. Ministers, all these people, the Pope, everyone can tune in and learn something to care for their own physical health, their spiritual help to help others, how to use their virtues to care, to listen, to do their proper jobs in their job description, to put this each time on the site. Remind every employer of all jobs, religious or not, they respect their life of health. They want to respect their dignity, and they have to treat others with respect that way too, of dignity of God that they have, all animals, all nature, to restore this order in the universe, caring, respect for all that is unfortunately not going on. 100 million people lives are suffering, everyone's still poor. Work hard for years. The financial resources need to be put in from the top down. Head employers, if they notice someone not doing the job, do start monitoring it. Fire them. Assess what they did wrong, how long. If they didn't for that period of time, what they were paid to help someone's help but didn't, take away their paycheck. By law, they know they have to. The employer, the college hiring it, the prime minister, the president, pope, whoever's employing them, then they have to make sure right away the years that they didn't follow up on this human that was harming someone potentially, that they're the ones who could have had to morally make sure that they look into that they were doing a right job, do something right to help the victims right away, apologize to them, put statements out there, phone contact the victims. I'm sorry, we were supposed to look into this. I'm sorry this staff doctor was hired. This is how are you poor? We can put the funding in now for you for disabled because of it. A victim to give you money to live. How much money exactly do you need to basically live? And you could have made yourself. Here's the funding. We're taking this paycheck away from this medically negligent staff. You can't afford medical negligence lawyer, obviously, but we're doing what is morally right. We did wrong. We're sorry. We didn't do everything in our job description as a president, prime minister, governing college, medical council of Canada, or the states ones, depending on country. The World Health Organization, mostly putting information helpful, but some they could do more effort into the whole world tuning in during COVID and very strained times. FDA needs fired whoever's working there for years. They harmed 100 million people's lives and know they have no right to do, including my own. 20 years wronged on different antipsychotics that are clearly chemicals that harm the brain, that they already know cannot be sold at all. But I don't have the contact resources. Those that who have higher offices do your job. Hear this video. Under God, you have to listen. I spoke this. I'm on earth, a human earth angel, humanitarian. I'm a public figure, a respected individual victim for years, high ranking, under God, an earth angel being on earth to help humanity. To all our leaders speaking the truth, what has to be done to restore respect of all humans, respect a reminder of them, a kind but serious reminder. These 100 million lives suffer like my own, no right to be disrespected, don't deserve it, could have entirely been avoided and had to if the world leaders did their job. All trained the years to do, know exactly what to do, not following up, who is employing below them, who they hired, follow up if they're doing right, if not, take away their paycheck. Write verbal apologies, contact the victims, put funding to what they were wrong to rectify it. Take those individuals that really did wrong, assess and put them in prison. If needed, have criminal charges of harming a human life they have no right to do, that given didn't give permission to be harmed. The brain, their organ physical health, verbally abused, this music industry, millions people offended children, souls have no right. Whoever is hiring these pope and president, prime minister, other countries not looking in but are obligated under God to do, to look into it now. Fire some of these people, clean up the music industry. They made millions of dollars. Some put makeup on and still sing the same songs, offending people for 2 decades more. No one wants to hear this. You could have put money into those that care. Take the money in this industry and clean it up. You don't want to hear and are offended by words, but you cannot let this go. You have a job. Be a morally right example. You have the contact resources. In your job, you have to do this. If you're not, you didn't do for years, millions offended. The different industry songs singing morally wrong words. People's lives were lost, killed illegally. They promoted the alcohol industry, wrongly cigar sales, in most of the music videos. Wrong example for children, millions. on YouTube, still pushing these. And these humans' lives were lost because you didn't do your job under God entirely to keep follow-up and make sure you hired proper in the TV shows to make sure they're morally right. If they're gonna swear, then tell them they can't be hired. Don't give the $1 million to an actress that knows not to care for its own self-respect, its own dignity, and is gonna swear in front of 100 million people. Obviously, this individual is not worth hiring as an actress or actor. Singers, these are morally wrong, have no right to offend anyone else, and definitely not to be put on a show and million people to view. In concerts, whoever is running these, the Pope had to look into this, President Biden, the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, the whole world leaders, Dalai Lama could look into this. All job descriptions, whoever's running this industry, are not all doing morally right. Under God, they have to do, and by law. To promote the respect and dignity of all cutie-minded humans, the physical, the ear, hearing, a soul, human life is worth dignity, respecting, morally right, and Jesus. Every human is assessed. They know these singers if they're doing right or wrong. If they're gonna do wrong, keep it to yourself. They are judged on earth by God. Don't get away. Keep it. They have no right to offend the dignity, disrespect any other human. There's millions of children that don't want to hear this and are to be cared, respected, and to make sure the President Biden, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, take your resources, contact numbers, or these industries, TV shows. If there's any inappropriate content, morally wrong that you yourself obviously don't want to be hearing, but is out there, then you have the authority in your job description to tell these humans to stop working away there, take away their paycheck. They already morally wrong. Tell them to put a public statement to humans, their viewers, that they're sorry that they offended humans, their hearing, their soul. They had no right to do. Millions of children harmed, wrong lives, drunk in clubs, listening to inappropriate songs, killing humans because of inappropriate song lyrics that the governing head departments and the provinces and the office have all job but didn't look into. They could look into, see online, YouTube. There's millions there. Misinformation, 100 million. Songs, TV shows, some existed since 90s, is already over 2 decades past that, still online, offending people. Useless bullshit content is obviously a waste of human time. Could clean it up for years. No one looked into it at all in any country. Humans' time wasted looking for something appropriate to learn, proper doctor sites. There's a one or two that care, the rest bullshit. The church is not doing anything. The Vatican, the Pope for years. These 100 sites, millions there. Even priests misinforming people. Still making money after the dead popes illegally when they didn't even do their job entirely description while alive, and they make millions after making books about them. I don't know who's making these. Even said this Pope Benedict that recently died is already have stories, books about him. He's already dead. He didn't do everything while he was alive to help the world. As a pope represent on earth to clean up anything online, morally do right all the time on YouTube to check, look in on it, do everything else to help in his resource power with the world leaders he didn't do. He has to give his paycheck of what he did alive back to give to those victims that were wronged. He has criminal charges against him for wronging any life and not helping them in those ways. These humans are making millions of dollars. The Vatican not looking in. He's the Pope, human representative of God on earth, has to set a good example. Millions view on Twitter and all world leaders too. They're there every day. Followers tune in 100 every day. They have to, you, all world leaders I'm speaking to, all other job titles as well, rather. You have to respect all humans that you're trained in your job to do at all times. You have the resources if you can't, for some reason at the time, to hire someone to help you, or hire someone that will do their job and gladly need paycheck. These days, everyone is poor. As I stated, they study years. These are high jobs, and almost every job requires study. Humans need money to learn, for calories to learn, for home to stay in, go to places of studies. They study most jobs high level, 4 years approximately, and that's thousands of dollars that they work and need funding for schools, online resources, especially during COVID. All schools have to be closed, cafeterias, Tim Hortons, especially, whoever will leader hear this, they're illegally opening the doors, not screening for 3 or 4 vaccination either, but even if they do, humans are entering, not hand sanitizing anymore. They had masks on the employees stated, but I told them there's a child there and old people talking with no masks at all, not screened at all, potentially spreading the virus and other strains for over an hour each, eating food with the mask off. And none of them, I told them to state to do these people as to their job to inform them to put masks or leave, to help the child even don't want a virus thing for 2 weeks and die. They state that it is the rules of the head office of Tim Hortons and other stores like this, the restaurants rather, that they cannot speak to the patrons, the customers about this. I have to deal with the head office, such as Tim Hortons. I looked up Intelligent Human for hours trying to find the head office. There's no clear phone numbers. This is what the head office is, the prime ministers and the presidents. These all the head humans had to do. They have the resources, especially for the pharmaceutical companies. I'm a huge victim, have a hard time, and I know that these are cunning. These are not cunning, these are disrespectful. Rather, these high level offices making the sales. They're hiring some people care, but they're not following up. They're endangering lives. They have no right to do, obviously. All humans know, all world leaders. They're not following up on these. This is in Ontario itself, Toronto, Guelph, Tim Hortons, many of them. Coffee shop, millions of people go through the doors every day, now not wearing masks. This Biden in the States, other coffee shops are doing the same. Restaurants, for dining areas especially, have to be closed till the virus and variant strains gone, or it'll never stop spreading in the world. This already mutated so many ways. That's why viruses are dangerous. To remember this, world leaders, you don't want a virus. It's been on Earth way too long. Is 4 years. It has mutated. Is clearly not gone from the world. If you hear any misinformation, take the second, go online. You have resources, hire someone, click online and correct it. That the virus is not gone. There are many restrictions lifted on many public eating places, such as Tim Hortons, other stores, which are clearly illegal, cannot be done while this virus is actually spread more and mutated. The humans vaccinated with 3 or 4 vaccines are not immune from and are not vaccinated against any other strain that's going on. These are things that the Prime Minister and Biden, President, the Pope, all the other world leaders, you know the names, you have the phone numbers, I don't. Takes a second every day, phone them and tell them. Look in on who's opening doors. Are they illegally opening doors? The virus is not gone. People misinforming everyone. Going to Shoppers Drug Mart in Canada, other stores well known, telling people that the virus is gone. People aren't wearing masks. The humans are suffering there while it's spreading. This is not the world leaders doing the job. Humans did the part for years. The people are becoming negligent, careless, because these world leaders at times and Pope are not doing the example. They don't wear the mask. They don't mention at any show to practice social distancing. Simple things, but you have to do. They have the million viewers. You have the million people that suffered 2 weeks and died. Animals, you can say, need to be taken care of, to put a mask and care for the ears, put the ear loops on so they're not harmed, the little children for parents to take care of them, to keep a safe distance from them, isolate themselves if needed, close all the schools. America, President Biden, do your job. You don't want your child going to a cafeteria in the cold to school to learn and get to suffer 2 weeks with a virus and die. Close the doors. There's a million students in Toronto alone, high school standing with no masks and socializing for hours, and people walking dogs and spreading the virus. They all get sick and die for 2 weeks. The principal's morally responsible, the boards that hired them, the teachers, they're responsible for 100 students' lives lost, have to give their paycheck back, help the victims and family. They have criminal charges against them for harming another human life. They have no right to do under God. Their job description is to help promote the well being and safety of children, to educate them properly, be good role models. Same with the Prime Minister to look into these boards. They have the resources. The President Biden, the Pope not doing this. There's 100 million schools like this. Is over 4 years. 100 million lives lost because they don't take the few seconds and keep reminding, educating themselves of the virus themselves, up-to-date info, to look on what their entire job description is, review it, keep it fresh in their memory, are supposed to. They are hired for a specific purpose, a specific job. To respect humans that they work with in the way they are trained in that job to do. Religious or not, of all races, to respect all humans are respect the same. Ethically, there's laws, bioethics laws that are governing the world. These are under God, morally right, have to obey. Every law is there in place for a proper reason. All those that know the laws, study these laws, enforce the laws. If you're not going to do in your job description, world leaders and those under you in main colleges, the World Health Organization, especially FDA, head pharmaceutical companies, especially during COVID and very strange times, you cannot do your job. You didn't for years. You have to, right, get forgiveness for what you wronged these humans, that you wrongly affected their lives. Under God, you don't get away with it. You had no right to offend or sin against another life. In your job description, you were not allowed to make a paycheck if you're going to harm someone. But you did. You have to resign, turn yourself into the proper authorities, to prison. You harmed and disrespected 100 million lives. And health and humans disabled because of it didn't deserve it, and you had no right to do to them. Against a human free of choice is illegal human torture. Never justified by God. There's no right reason for this. No human has the right to disrespect the health and life of and well-being, to emotionally wrong someone, offend morally to another human life in any way. Every human has the dignity of God within them, religious or not, to be respected and valued as the human that they are, and right to be treated like with respect, rather, as every human has a right to be. The world leaders smarten up entirely Do your jobs all the time or resign finally. Hire those that care, and millions would love to do this and do their job and restore right away few phone calls to the disabled people, funding, help them rectify morally what you did wrong, get your paychecks, what you made cannot keep over the years even made, have to give back, put into funding for all disability that were wronged, all homes when you didn't put enough for funding for medical care and humans suffered with not enough no IV bags. In Toronto, for example, it happened to me. Then people turn away and then have to go to a naturopath, pay the $100 to pay for a $23 bag of fluids of potassium that the hospital is funded to give but didn't. In Mississauga, Ontario, Canada, for example, Toronto, this is a human torture traveling and paying money when they're poor, what is already funded, and people worked hard to get this funding over years in hospitals and put efforts into this to get the funding there so humans have enough OHIP, for example, in Ontario health insurance premium to cover certain things in hospitals. This is, and then they're not using this money to give a human that clearly was wronged on earth illegally, and when they're barely clinging to life and need an IV would easily be given but turned away after freezing there for 3 hours waiting because they save the pennies and don't have a money for a medical negligence lawyer to clearly sue them and facility and right to do and put that doctor in prison. Then file complaints with these colleges that hire and take secondly to follow up phoning them. Then they book a meeting. It took, and I follow other ones, is over a year and a half. They're still investigating. There's nothing to investigate. They see the patient file, clearly is medical negligence. A human harmed life had no right to be disrespected, could have had IV and saved potassium, my heart to beat. Has a right to be given IV bag, fluids, rehydrated, right to be an intelligent human, respected by that physician that is trained there to help me. To get a human to give it to me or can be done even while in waiting area, so don't have to wait long and it wasn't, and been disrespected waiting there in the cold with no potassium and glucose enough to be alive, beyond my control. And then I had to go and turned away and travel far when I'm suffering a heart can't beat without not enough potassium to try to find a natural path and pay $100 when I'm already a victim on disability with no money. To go there to pay them $100 for a first session to counsel to ask them to get a bag of fluids and potassium and pay the $30, which OHIP covers but wouldn't give to me. This needs to be looked into by the world leaders. The President Justin Trudeau, do your job. Look into Ontario doctors and in Toronto, these hospitals, Mississauga, clearly illegal staff working there, almost medically negligent, all of them. Trials, nurses, medical staff, they help one or two people that really need the rest. They wait 3 hours when they don't even have to wait that long, can clearly be assisted even in waiting area and let go, even especially when it's too cold most of the year. Respect human life. This is what the jobs are. They make the $1 million, but getting away with it, going on vacation while they're harming the patients. They cannot make their job by law. They have criminal charges against them and have to be put in prison. They harmed another life, mine. They disrespect this. The funding, they owe it. They get away with it. They're laughing. They're walking around, talking, planning their vacation with $1 million. The doctors, the nurse that entered there, registered nurse, trials nurse, handed from one nurse to another hour waiting in another room. A patient that needs clearly could have been given the bag and left and helped and have proper health, but wasn't. And millions of people I've seen, is true, live through this, not helped. There's a few specialists because they specialize care and help humans, but the rest in the major emergency areas mistreated. Most let go, stating they cannot help them. Humans wait hours even just to hear this. And it's COVID times, people travel far. all races, religions, all humans need to be treated with respect or not. The humans, but the world leaders and all of them, they're living in luxury. These doctors, they can't, are actually morally wrong, did have to pay their debts. They have to verbally apologize to these patients. They have a soul morally obligated under God to do, and Jesus couldn't sin, they know. Subject, religion or not, every human is recorded on earth doesn't get away with it, is judged, assessed right away if they morally act not and don't help someone, a doctor when they have to and all can and have to do. Swear oaths to God, every doctor, surgeon, every nurse, medical staff, that they cannot make their paycheck unless they're going to help human health. If they don't, they cannot make it under God is illegal and have criminal charges and cannot make their paycheck. That goes for every job. Everyone knows all there's laws to be obeyed. Whoever's enforcing, who's hiring these medically negligent staff, see the other videos I made specifically detailing this, a true story. And after 20 years of me suffering in the most supposed to be land of opportunity, Canada, is clearly not to do their jobs. Find funding what is supposed to be done already for years. I'm a victim because you didn't do your jobs. The president in the states to his Americans, the separately, and the prime minister happens to be Trudeau, but whoever worked there and after, in Ontario, ministers of the province, they're not doing their jobs, not closing doors of schools, all of them. Endangered and harmed, a million lives were lost, suffering. Animals, not promoting proper mass, not looking online, not making sure the dog Tim Hortons do their job to care for human patrons, come out of these coffee shops, dine in restaurants, close dining areas, prevent the spread even more. There's change Omicron variant forms, there's sub-variants. Variant mean is changed form is a different form of the virus. There's no vaccines for this. There are no cures. 2 weeks, think of, do you want to suffer breathing problems? For 2 weeks is not a second. Have a high fever, aches, nausea, feel like you're going to throw up is not a second. No one wants to live through this. Headaches, different symptoms for 2 long weeks, a days, even 24 hours a night. Can't have lack of sleep, need more fluids, be harmed, cannot do their job a week, cannot take care of children if they have one. Human suffering, isolate, are alone, sad in that way. Can't take care of a dog, is crying because they don't have a parent taking care of it, a caregiver. The human suffering, coughing, then the next the day, then it is at 2 weeks, is not a second. Then die. These all millions of people died because of these world leaders not doing the job, promoting the proper mass funding for free. They're easily given these medical facilities given to proper ones to other humans that can afford it. Properly sold, one put on mask. I put this on years already, months already. Supposed to be viewed by world leaders right away, humans to promote this. 100 million lives be saved, health. All dining areas closed. Ministers, religious, even under God, morally obligated in their paycheck to think of this and close the doors. First, respect human life. Never open this church worship places again. This was never worship, what was actually going on for hundreds of years in every religion. Humans misinformed and wrongly harmed their health inadvertently. Signs of cross, kneeling, that didn't have to be done. Putting hands in holy water, spreading germs, even COVID and different ones. Handing the sacrament to people during endangering lives, even without COVID, is disgusting. The spread of germs. This is never intended by God for any human to do, or Jesus and Holy Spirit. All world leaders help this, religious or not. You have the resources, make sure it's done, care for the humanity. There's a million people look up to you. Do you care and supposed to help them? That's why they tune in, and the people like you. If they like you, it's even better for you. A lot of people like those who they really like. They tune in on the TV shows to Trudeau if he's doing something proper and put nice comments on Twitter. There, Biden are happy. They have happy health, more funding for homes as their right to live in a warm home, to live clothing as they would the prime minister want, Trudeau or president to live enough clothing. All humans are basically poor. If they put the funding, which they did some recently bit better, then all humans are happy. They right to be treated that way. They have is not a second, is cold. Almost all year, Canada stays cold, freezing frostbite for million seconds. In 2 seconds, a human is frostbite when poor and disabled because a victim of medical negligence. Has nowhere to go, cannot afford a hotel room even to stay out of the cold for one night because of disability money, which is not even enough for food for a one night in a hotel and have to last. It was given for 30 days, which is not going to last for 30 days if it doesn't last for one night. And humans wrong and disable myself live on street begging for food with the same clothing for years, even in facilities not given the proper food, dehydrated, wrong, illegally brain tortured, and stay there with nothing to do is the most disrespect of human life there is. It still goes on. I filed complaints, they barely follow up on it. In Camich, Mount Sinai, I don't have the money for medical negligence lawyers, but the college had to look into and still investigating. They're illegally working there, making money. Could have fired them, put money, stated to help me. They have to give their paycheck back. They have to, under God, keep in mind every job title. World leader Pope, you have to listen to this. You wronged another human life, had no right to do. You are morally responsible for offending someone, for harming their life. They have poor quality of life, homeless, freezing to death, and nowhere to turn for even to get hot chocolate money because you didn't put money into disability for a cripple. A human brain damage with clozapine you could have kept off the market that no human needs and saved $1 million them working in the pharmacies could go along with it, hiring their $1 million paychecks making. While they pour give to these people that don't need, such as myself. I couldn't have children. I'm not happy. I live on Canada is minus 40 degrees. Went outside for 1 second, have frostbite on hands, damaged nerve veins, even with gloves on and winter boots, and froze to death. There's no cures and healing for frostbite, is damaged limbs, veins, arteries, nerves, and I have no money to go anywhere. A basic house I could have saved, worked hard for 2 decades and lost. My university degree didn't have give me $40,000 for what I learned and used that for food. For the years, disability, nothing. 100 million people live like myself, that's Ontario alone. While the prime ministers all made the $1 million, take a jet flying to see the Pope or the other country in the summits. And that's a plane that they could stay home and during COVID as well. Set a good example. Save that $1 million, give it to the people they harmed. Resign, go to prison. It is true, write an apology statement. I'm sorry, we harmed these lives. Even when recently sometimes they put more funding or this, they don't state a statement. It is a life that they harm millions. Suffer not a second. Brain damage memory, ACT don't need, could get off market, keep away from FDA all the time. Close that entirely and start a new organization that cares. Hire all the workers there. Most likely all went along with it. Made the millions of dollars for years. Cannot, have to turn the paycheck, even the money they made used, have to give it back. Work, take out loans, but are morally under God obligated to give it back to the employer and to put back into the victims to what they wronged to help them. Funding for all ODSP in Ontario Disability Support Program, in all other countries, in all provinces, in the states, every state. 100 million people and psychiatric wards were wrong illegally. With clozapine, need money, thousands each month, enough for good quality life they deserve, could make themselves as much as they require to live comfortably in a warm, heated place for normal temperatures, even more caring money given, so they have luxuries in life. that they deserve to make them more happy after they were illegally harmed, that no human should live through. They can't sue, have no money for punitive damages, but right to do, get that extra money for the emotional wronged by the staff being rude. Doctors were harmed. These other people, staff, the world leaders could look into, could have hired a caring doctor and were let go and not suffer this, like myself. Clozapine, the pharmaceutical companies, get rid of them entirely, who is working there. Tell them to work off if they use that money for vacation, couldn't harm a million lives. Take that money, put it into disability. Do your jobs. You have the phone number to call them. No human alive that I know of and victims have a number to the head pharmaceutical companies. Even intelligent humans are given have online fake emails to Clozaril or Clozapine company, Abilify, risperidone, polyperidone. I'm an intelligent human, would have to find lawyers, attorneys, a way to define contact to push the issue to actually physically go to their offices. They don't have phone numbers easily accessible to the public to file complaints. This is all you know. All doctors, psychiatrists, all the Biden president, previous ones, all the prime minister, Justin Trudeau, the previous ones in years, all you know of this didn't do anything, all in your job description to do at all times. To stop this are pharmaceutical companies to put filing complaints severe departments on this clearly have to be do it now on their sites. So patients have rights, a human dignity to respect to really file complaints to these pharmaceutical each different company to the right to be heard there, bioethics boards to look into these as well. They're not doing what they're doing supposed to be. These are bioethics. These are the ethics of this to respect human rights, to respect human dignity, what is to do morally right of bio, having to do with a live human, of animals, to be respected, a live human with organs, a brain, these bioethics boards to figure out what is morally right if these pharmaceutical companies are going to do something wrong, to look into them, who they're hiring, to never hire them, fire the ones that are working there, file them, put them under criminal charges for harming the lives and the right to do of others, put them in prison immediately, haven't done for years. Millions of humans suffered, such as myself, 20 years at times, other ones I know of, 10 long years. Clozapine don't need, accomplished nothing in life, didn't need to have, or could have went outside, exercise, had proper vitamins and had proper brain health to begin with and stay that way. Most mental humans only need proper diet and counseling and be in the sun, vitamin D, and exercise. Even depression, counseling, happy thoughts, and a good quality of life, not kept indoors and suffering. Never given ECT. ECT doesn't help anyone. Is illegally FDA approved. Even without human, is illegally given against freedom of choice, is human torture. All world leaders get rid of it. Even when everyone is misinformed and not entirely informed when given ECT before it. These doctors are lying through their teeth. There's 10, as I stated, staff working of all job descriptions, secretary, physiologists, anesthesiologists, $1 million a year make. And in this ECT clinic in Canada, the Temerity Department ECT at CAMH, there's Ontario Shores, there's the Mayo Clinics advertising in America. These other ones, there's the doctors that work there affiliated wrongly with Harvard University, potentially misinforming students that are future psychiatrists or doctors with misinformation in their articles. The ones in Ontario and Toronto, the illegally had clinical scientists, the 50 of them working there for years, were affiliated with U of T, make the second paycheck. Wrong articles, misinforming, hopefully not students, for years there. In the Department of Psychiatry, I contact never replied to me. I with a list of 50 doctors and psychiatrists to save that, and the students There, they never replied and had to do. The universities, these are humans that are training the future minds of the countries, high-level medical schools, the psychiatry departments, those ones really need cleaned up, and mental wards, those humans in dealing with immigration, screening, especially doctors, psychiatrists, make sure that they know English. If they're going to work in Canada, they make sure to have proper laws to hire someone that's from the country, unless they're really educated from another country traveling with the intent of helping someone in Canada, to let them in, to make sure they know English. If they cannot communicate in English or a language that the patient knows and really help their health, then don't hire them. Don't let them in the country. There's 100 of these working in CAMH that don't know English. That I don't even know why they are there. I don't know how they graduated, but are working there, illegally harmed people in my life and offended, were rude, and don't know English. No different languages, and don't even take the effort to learn to speak English basic sentences. And pushed the antipsychotics, ECT, and left. So whoever's hiring them, colleges, and letting into the country, obviously are not doing their job in any way. Harm my life as a result, have to apologize, formal send letters to me. Other patients have a life, could have worked for 20 years, done medical lab research myself in all fields that I studied, made the vaccines, cures, genetic disorders gone, cancers, asthma, different things for over 24 years. Accomplished none of it because of brain damage. Suffer when no human need to live through these wards, and millions I've seen through still living there. Illegally wronged in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, CAMH, for example. Center for Addiction and Mental Health. Could easily be cancelled, proper, more nutrition staff hired, those psychiatrists gone, in prison, have criminal charges, have a warrant easily put for their arrest and put in prison, and had to be instill humans to look into this, to put proper more laws funding into this police to do their job, to easily help, to get access to work together with colleges that hire them if it's clearly a case important like this, not to be told when I phone the police what to do about criminal charges when I can't afford a medical lawyer, but right to do, still contact police. They wrongly harm my life. I have clear medical records proving this. They had no right to do, and that this is human torture, illegal by every law. And then they say to turn me to the College of Physicians Ontario. Would I have a right still to file criminal charges? But then all the jobs to always phone and lead to someone to, you need proper humans that are educated in their jobs to be hired, to do the right thing, inform humans right away about what can be done. It is a serious matter, not to find someone, to turn them to another office, to call so that another human calls and has a job to contact and refer someone to another office, and nothing gets accomplished. But they make their paycheck knowing that they're supposed to help me right away, but not doing. And I am left without proper advice, without these people being put in prison. They could be already me put them in prison and they'd be stopped from working and harming. Already, I know there's people still there, patients, hundreds properly after years, through the year and a half while they're still working there. Head clinical scientists, illegal researchers. These are not head clinical scientists. They all clearly know, but working there. The world is not in order. Those that are morally doing wrong, even if you made a paycheck, please listen to this for years. Previous prime ministers, wrong, different ones, look into this. If they're still alive, have to morally give back their paychecks. If they use the money already went on vacation, then they have to do their job, take out a loan, and give the money back to whoever hired them and put the money to the victims that they know had no right to wrong. to harm their life that could have worked and had money even to live if this basic reason alone to stay out of the cold, buy a heater so they have normal so don't freeze to death, enough food and shelter to live. While brain damage is not easy to do for a human to work if they're brain damaged illegally and can't remember anything for years and have to go outside with no money for $200, not enough for shelter for one night in a hotel because of ODSP, because the prime minister Justin Trudeau and other offices don't put funding into disability, but they harmed the life of mine. Didn't protect the didn't think of to hire proper staff that care, but put a psychiatrist yelling at me, offending a woman rude and telling me and disrespecting my rights so he has a patient and to get a so then he must stay on a form then have another job of people going along with the rights advisors and then and other doctors waiting for 3 days and then have a patient to see in 3 days that could have done right away, assess me proper and let me go, and then I can't sue them, I have no money, then I have to live on the street with a damaged brain I didn't need to have. No children, but they have children. They get married, make the paychecks, live their happy life, went on vacation, moved to warm countries. Well, I suffered because they didn't do their job entirely. And 100 million clean mind is young people there, illegally harmed. Still living there every day long is 12 hours, is undescribable in 12 hours with no food, starving and over sedated with clozapine damaging the brain. Abilify, no human lived through. The human can't even think is severe brain damage. Doesn't even any human need it all. Harm my brain because I didn't even need it at all. And then have to live with a damaged brain. Can't think, need a human to help me. If human doesn't have anyone to live and a place to live, how am I going to work? And they wrongly harm me, didn't have to. And I could have used my U of T degree, 40,000, and made money for years and not live on the street. Then I'm sitting there, and other people are going, even living there, are going begging. Humans driving by sometimes donate food. They don't. They have the same shirt like me. Couldn't buy a nice jacket, a different one. Even had the same one since I worked as child since 1999 U of T. Wrongly harmed, assessed, misdiagnosed for years, and have the same jacket I kept for 20 years because I can't afford another one. While humans, they went on vacation, president, ex-prime minister, different countries, one after another, made the $1 million. All the staff disability gave nothing, but they're the ones that harmed them. These are people, children, that had the brain electrocuted, knocked out unconscious, and electrocuted because someone wanted a paycheck. They said the next time these kind of people didn't even need and see this, they're sitting there and no one to help them. They can't even remember anything from the last time. And some people forced to go. These uh, these people at ECT, heartless ones, 10 working staff each one. That's $10 million a year for these people illegally torturing humans have no right to do. Bodily harm have criminal charges, serious ones already for years, and no one fires them. People that choose online to clean up these videos, this is not one human alive that was helped there. These are illegal actors. The doctors even lying through the teeth, most of them. Some mention the basic are there for informative to help people with the side effects potential like mine are, but I put more serious ones. I'm a victim, I know. This is not beneficial to anyone. To take down as everyone please to view these other videos. As mentioned, two world leaders, Pope, do your job or resign. Tell the previous ones that were hard you have the contact numbers. If you know they did wrong, they have to take their money and give it to those victims so they don't at least freeze to death on the street with frostbite. So they have money to every day even go and to they cannot work because of it every day crippled and have money to buy a soup to stay warm. That costs money these days. A soup is $3 to $4. A basic meal in McDonald's is now $13 in Canada. A human has to work for hours in itself for that, and a human that is poor cannot work, and they can because they were wronged by these psychiatrists and then left on the street because disability is nothing, begging for food, and then have no food because there's no one there to give it to them, freezing in temperatures, have frostbite, no one to care for them, they don't deserve it, such as myself. I am homeless. I will never afford money. I lost the youth when I built it from I went to high school, many years in cold, learned, built on years microbiology, neurobiology, chemistry, everything. Life sciences possible, studied 4 years, life science degree, bachelor. Lost all, brain damage for 20 years, 21 years old, bright future, skating could have had. Varsity skater, couldn't figure skate no more. I paid his child, lost my driver's license, wrongly taken away. I can't drive in the cold, I can't get it back now. Too many years. No disability through the years could have gave me the enough thousand. They had the money. The all prime ministers. They didn't. They could have to give the money back. They can't live in their luxury while they harm people making their paycheck. That was not in their job description. Is by law illegal. They tortured humans, bodily harm, no right to do. Disrespect the dignity, have to give it back. Whoever in the job is working there, Trudeau, look at the previous prime ministers, if they didn't do in the past 20 years to help in Toronto, Ontario, the premiers, different ones, they made $1 million, didn't look into the boards, didn't hire the proper staff, didn't fire them. I was wrong 20 years. Put the money into ODSP. Find the victims, do your job, give the money back. Even after they already used it for vacation money, couldn't take the money. They have to, they know there are laws to take out a loan if needed, to do an extra job, to pay for, give it to the victims. Put the wrong, right the wrongs that have been done, rather. Put statements there, filing saying, I'm sorry, we wronged your lives. We had no right to do. We were trained to help human lives. We didn't do that in our job description. We are formally apologizing. The Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, previous ones, President Biden, to millions of people, such as myself, victims, left on the street. Is not a second, million days of brain damage. I can't remember my own boyfriend's name. Humans that have loved ones for years cannot remember anything. Seizures caused, ECT, didn't need it all. Could have hired proper caring staff, let me go, and never lived through it. Right the wrongs now, you're morally obligated under God to do. You have criminal charges against you, millions. Every world leader, all the Pope, Australia has ECT clinics still needed to be closed. I put a video there. This is online jobs for this to do look into. I clearly stated what need to be done. There's some views needed to be done immediately. These nights went by, nothing really done. Millions suffering. I have no money to live. Millions of victims like myself. In Canada, it is actually minus 10 to 20 degrees. Everyday storms, wind, and Guelph happen to be. Other cities, Toronto, main ones, there are no homes. The human have shelter to go to. The hotel is $250. I have no income from ODSP enough to pay for that. For one night to stay just out of the cold, even without food, and have to stay and live there starving on the street, not even money for a hot chocolate to warm the body temperature, right to do. Would have did my own job, I wasn't harmed. Save money, I have my own house by now to even keep out of the cold, work hard. And for food even, and normal, not even luxury, but jackets to warm to wear. Have a family, kids, I have nothing. Is 21 years old, 22, that's 12 months, 23, 24. I lived for till 30 years old to 40. 20 years since 1999, I was illegally wronged. In Toronto, and millions of people, others, some live longer than that, and put on this ECT. There's a clozapine mainly. This market with the pharmacy that goes with it. They need closed for years. All staff know. The world leaders act now. Close. Get rid of it. Is illegal chemicals, obviously, is not beneficial to anyone. Causes more harm throughout the years, especially human doesn't need it. Million side effects, blood overdrawn frequently to weak. No one lives a good quality life at all. Over sedated. They sleep 12 hours knocked out cold with no nutrients. Have nothing to do in the wards, especially COVID times. Cannot go outside for air. Disgusting places with rodents. potentially spreading the virus. No social workers barely hired that care to find housing for these people. There's 10-year waiting list for disability of humans that were actually wrong that even didn't need to have been on that, like myself. 10 years. Is no human can live on the street freezing for 10 years to wait for a simple housing with some other people that have brain disorders. Isn't it done right away? The ODSP is nothing, but these people make the $1 million and harmed illegally in Ontario. Put the funding into ODSP. There's ODSP coalition. Do your job. Help the ODSP. If you're doing best you can, then continue, please. Keep doing it. Act. These are kind-hearted people, millions, that don't want to freeze to death. They value life and you don't want to freeze to death. Keep in mind what you want to be treated with respect, to be in a warm house enough to live, how much you need basically to live, and a few extra money to live a happy life, basic food, shelter to give to these people. ODSP, it takes thousands each month. They're giving $200. One I know was given $150 on ODSP there, and had no very good food and cabbage, had to go outside like all the other ones, begging on the street for food. Have the same t-shirt and pants for 10 years. This is not a line of opportunity. It has to be. It is the most looked up in the world. Canada, States, people travel, are poor in countries with no shower, travel to Canada hoping that they will have good jobs, all of it. But what is going on, even people like myself, educated and worked and lost it all because they don't hire the proper caring staff. But they made $1 million to torture people and couldn't, and got away. No one can afford medical negligence lawyers, so put funding that into medical negligence lawsuits for cases that will actually clearly win. These are the most needed funding, but there is no funding, financial aid for medical negligence lawyers. But every other lawsuit there is for lawyers humans that don't have enough paycheck to pay for themselves for a lawyer and court fees. But these are most needed because they can get away with harm health. Human then cannot work if have brain damage for life and have no right someone to harm them, a doctor, and gets away with it. And then the patient like me is living on the street and it's too cold. I can't work. My brain is damaged. I didn't allow to be damaged. They're walking around, need to be put in prison. I don't remind it of it, and they're still investigating. This is not a respect of a human life and health, and it cannot be done. And millions obviously needlessly suffering there still. Go there yourself. There's reporters in Toronto all the time. The story is there. The Justin Trudeau, get the minister or whoever is governing Ontario, look into it right now. You're morally obligated under God to do. If you didn't, didn't do it properly, resign. Find someone best you can to help you to fix what needs right. Done. File the apologies rather, to all the wrong victims for years. The popes, previous ones, this pope, Pope Francis, look into previous popes. They didn't entirely do the jobs. Give the money what he made, has to give back. Even died. Find who has the money if they still have it. Give it and put it into the help those victims, orphanages. They had to help these people to make sure there was proper funding for mass, to help humans to care. God's representative on earth. Deal with the world leaders more. See what's going on. If they're doing a right job, tell them under God. He has to speak what I'm speaking, but he's not doing this. This is the Pope's job. This is the world leaders' job. They all know this. They study these things. There's no human following up on this. Not that that's why I'm speaking this. I'm the only one I've seen online or anywhere that I know about this, and that all employers know, but not focusing on it. Not focusing on it, rather. This has to be fixed on the earth immediately to save the health and lives of whatever left of humanity that were supposed to be respected and cared by all the Pope, all major job titles, the presidents, the prime ministers of all countries, Dalai Lama, then all the police departments, their jobs, the medical councils, and who they hired, the governing colleges that hire the doctors with their license to have the right to know to take away if needed, to give it to them if proper only. Everyone has sworn oath to God. No one under God gets away with it. Out of respect Jesus to religious or not, all humanity know to never morally do wrong themselves. They're judged out of respect Jesus, don't sin, do wrong, and definitely not cannot do to another human. They don't have the right to harm anyone else. Morally, verbally, cannot abuse anyone rather. They cannot harm human health to make a paycheck, what their job is not to do. Doctors, psychiatrists, police have to respect rights. Mine were disrespected, but don't have money to file this. They need all to do their job properly, to follow up. Priests, ministers, police coming and humans file a report and a follow-up, but come in 2 cop cruisers and a woman to investigate couldn't do. They have to respect rights. For example, this is to have to come in a plain clothes officer rather in a plain vehicle to simply see if a complaint that is not problematic, to see what's going on, to not disrespect a woman or someone individual clean-minded, and to show up with 2 men police officers 300 pounds with bulletproof vests and guns in their holsters to question an innocent human, which happens. Then ask them if they have what their names are. They disrespect this and can't and right to know the person, what their names are, what they're being questioned about, who filed this report, this why they're there. There's most police officers, their job is to serve and protect the community. Most are not doing their job either, needs complaints filed, but there's no names given. They get away with it. But human rights, what I'm saying is the jobs are not, whoever's hiring these people not looking into it to make sure they're hiring the proper staff, police officers, if they're educated, follow up if they did do a good job. If they're not, fire them, take away their paycheck. They cannot keep it, give it to the victims. They cannot get away with this. The humans have not have rights as well. They cannot be disrespected these ways. And a woman or innocent human questioned by police, scared by 2 police officers showing up in bulletproof vests. Other humans, well known, and the neighbors there, kind-hearted humans see this, see the humans saying what's wrong. This human nothing did wrong. Why there's 2 muscled men showing up in bulletproof vests, scaring this poor lady? She's not a criminal. Then they don't give the names, then can't file a complaint because they don't know about it, what their names are, and leave. There's millions of humans not doing their job, disrespecting people, and emotionally even suffering, have rights to, but can't afford lawyers, not have information, doctors squiggling lines, not writing in the nursing staff, don't put their entire names. They cannot do on these patient forms. Other patients don't know about this. Other patients will learn over time, help other humans, but the main staff are not respecting dignity in employers. They question some care, the other ones hiring people, not following up after. This is the main thing too. Look in to see, ask the doctors, are you doing, how many patients do you have? Make sure they don't have too many. How they can possibly help a lot of patients if they have a lot. They need to focus, follow up on certain patients more often, which they're not doing. They put one prescription and say in 2 weeks, a month, I'm coming back. Then they go to the next room, then the next room to the next patient, do the same thing, put their names, scribble down a prescription for illegal antipsychotics, oversedate someone so they're sleeping for 12 hours. No nutrients, human doesn't know, they barely get up, can't think. no nutritious food. Humans don't know to push the issue. Nursing staff are rude. I even told certain one, but humans need reminded. Told like myself, I told them write it down, record this, proof on phones. People have iPhones saying this. These doctors to push the issue, saying they're missing. Oh no, that's a nurse. She's not a doctor. They're told. Tell the nurse to write on the record you want to see a doctor right away. I'm not gonna wait 2 weeks in the lower or increase medication I don't need. These are patients not informed by these doctors that they can lower it when they don't need it, anything that they don't need at all. Illegal staff working there, making millions. They have to give the money back to me, find the funding, contact me. My name is Angelika JAKIELA. My name is spelled ANGELIKA. My first name, my last name is spelled JAKIELA. I am a humanitarian. I could have accomplished a lot on this earth for over 24 years. It is a horrendously long time. Had children, did my university degree, would not have lost it, and my driver's license, skated in shows, competed, taught NHL goaltenders in Toronto, did my research, medical secretary job, find cures, vaccines, 100 million for years, but my brain was illegally wrong. This is not, but then I was a human valuable to a million people to save their lives and health techniques and things. I had ideas, but my brain was damaged, couldn't do. I have no home for years, poor quality of life because I know no money, even happiness to buy a nice jacket, even warm enough to wear. I don't have any money. I will never have. I lost those main years after I studied high school, built on long years as a child, even in cold, traveling bus downtown to U of T, and then for 4 years they aren't back. $7 worked in factory, and then had to 20 years lost, suffering, brain damage, overdrawn, clozapine don't need, put from one medically negligent one to the next one, fighting against them. Didn't need it all. Then the next one went 2 years. Then I put in this and put in ECT where I clearly didn't need it all. And then brain damage, memory for life. Lost the years when I could save up money. It was not easy to do, but no, and not lazy to save up money for retirement. When it's cold, to stay out of the cold. The storms here in Canada all the time, winds, no way to human freeze instantly. Nowhere to go, no family. Friends to lost, suffered for years, damaged brain, have memory needlessly. While these people went on vacation, $1 million vehicles need taken away. They cannot live in luxury, made the money. Have heated seats, leather vehicles, seats heated internally, nice amenities, different things in their houses they bought with this money that they harm me illegally. They still walk in there smiling to these patients crying, don't want to see them. And have to give their money back. All the years, the car, sell it, give it to the victims, apologize. Under God, have to rectify what they best can on earth, victims, the world leaders included. Currently, Biden, secretaries of state, if did anything wrong, those employed under them in every state. In Canada, Justin Trudeau, previous ministers, he has to look into other previous presidents. They cannot get away with this. This need to be the Pope look into this for years. Keep reminding them of the jobs description, dignity to respect humanity. The Pope didn't do this as I stated. The president, prime ministers currently still put these posts I put there over the months on Pinterest. Angelika minimized this to the little words there to respect human dignity, or don't hire anyone to make a paycheck, because then you respect to hire someone that will make a paycheck and need it for food and will actually help someone and million people what their job is intended to do. These little pins on Pinterest. This is under Angelika JAKIELA, Earth Angel. The name spelled ANGELIKA. The last name JAKIELA. Earth Angel. I am a human, a real Earth Angel. Is a human with high authority under God on earth, put here by free will of choice to help humanity, to prevent their suffering and relieve in any way I can. As a human, with high authority under God had the numbers and would contact the Pope and do the Prime Minister, White House, and will speak gladly with them about this for years. I don't have the resources, contact information, so whoever watches this video, please get it to them. If they ever find anyone had to in my situation, spiritual on God's side, the Pope to contact me to please get me his phone number. Any archdiocese under it, world leaders, I will speak to them, still alive. My life force is too low not protect on earth, so I make this video once, so please listen to it. Please protect this. All world leaders make a copy, download it, put it to all different. I made the other one with more details about this world leaders, what they have to do, about this human dignity to respect. This one is centered about what happened to respect human dignity, but what can be done to rectify this on the part of those that wronged the humans, that didn't do their job entirely and their job description, but had to do right under God, and to respect humans, to right the wrongs, to apologize. It counts a lot to the human victim that was wrong, to know that the human cared and knows they realize what they did wrong, to apologize to them from the heart and really do, to just ask them to forgive them, to put the money they made and say, can I help you, victim? What I wronged you? This, how much money do you need? I'll give you this money so you have to live as you rightly deserve. You could have made yourself. You can't afford medical negligence, Lord, I will help you. Did the world leaders have to do? The Pope? They made the millions for years. You can and couldn't do while the people suffered what you were supposed to care to make sure the proper, as I stated, different examples in this video. There are others of major retailers, especially during COVID times, pharmaceutical companies, bioethics boards not doing everything they can to follow up on these pharmaceutical companies, clozapine market, get rid of from world all dangerous antipsychotics, never help anyone. The research there for years, clear evidence, not needed. FDA is illegally approving them, not restricting them entirely, misinforming, still wheezing way to make pennies. Millions harmed, don't need it at all. It never helps anyone, clearly. ECT, get rid of the word even, is not electroconvulsive therapy. It is electroconvulsive torture, especially if given against freedom of choice. Without human consent, it cannot be done, but it was done to me. Didn't know the rules, medical staff, but did. The rights they have to give me. I could win multi-million-dollar lawsuit to change the laws in these situations where in Canada and states, there's a certain amount of years since a human knows when some medical negligence happens. It's only 2 years, but mine affects throughout years would be 20-year, $100 million lawsuit, and a right to use this money I could have gotten for money to live that I could have even made myself. The U of T money, 40,000 I lost and driver to given back to me. These doctors to turn their page again and give me more. Any for sue for punitive damage, verbal abuse of women kept illegally in inhumane places for million day and nights in CAMH. Disgusting buildings couldn't go out for air. Then during COVID, no activities. Humans suffering there, nothing to do, is the worst torture alive. Endless torture. Couldn't have a child, offended, crying, could be doing. I didn't even need to be there. Millions of people live there, knocked out, cold, don't even know. They're not educated like me to ask them for more nutrients, for supplements, to help them. They don't even have to be there, but they don't know. They could stop and have the medication lowered to a lower level to sleep 8 hours, not 12, or knocked out unconscious almost, over sedated. Then can I get up in the morning drooling? Don't have to be, would be healthier. This I know how one human could help others. This is the doctor's job. Whoever hires them, boards. But then it's a year and a half. They're still looking, investigating. Illegally harm people though. The college physician surgeon in Ontario has to give back the money that they hired these, and while they're investigating human suffering, me, emotional strain could be these people looked into and not following, have to follow up and ask about this doctor, put the names there that don't remind it of that wrong me. Rude, poor forced human that doesn't want, don't need to be put on ECT, clozapine, other ones. This is humans have emotionally strained the victim for life, doesn't need to push the issue and follow what don't remind it needs to be taken care of right away and not doing their job. The college, the nurses one, there's other ones, pharmacies, other ones squiggle the line. I can't even file a complaint, they say, because then they won't even look in but find the name. Because I have to tell them the exact name of the nurse, but they squiggle lines, their names, so they get out of it. They can't do this to human, but they do. They make the $1 million. They can't, have to give it back. Apologize. Everyone who has high-level jobs, look into who you hired. As you know, you screen them first. You ask the question, every employer, are you going to do your job description? If not, you can't make your paycheck. Are you going to respect the other employees, customers, patrons? Are you going to do a morally right job as police officer to serve and protect what your job is? Are you going to be a good doctor? You have to, under God, they all swear oath to do what the best they can to help all humans. That's what each job is. Vets to help animals, to care. They have personalities. They have a life, a soul. A living creature needs taken care of. Farmers, and especially COVID, more information all world leaders have to do. The Pope, Inform, I made another video especially about this topic. These are living creatures to help find mass caregivers for these animals. To prevent the spread, help the animals, put the mass proper ones, nutrients to help their immune system, step up research. Each animal has a different species of each type of animal. Animals have little kids, little puppies, the dogs have. Rabbits have bunnies. If they're lost a parent, they have no one to take care of the infant, but is growing, needs nutritious food, taken care of. It has no mom. Animal, if lost due to the virus, they have respiratory tracts to remind humans, their pets, loved ones. These are things I put on the past few videos. Please, the world leaders, who can get this to them? Spread this. You have the viewers on Twitter. Put this link to every job title imaginable. You watch it yourselves as many times needed. You are supposed to do this. Remember this main thing: human dignity, respect your health the way you want to be treated as a valued human, as well as and do to others the way you want to be treated. With main thing to keep in mind: proper health, medical care if needed. In all countries, help those less fortunate countries. They are humans too. These in Africa, million children alone with no homes. They are merely obligating Pope for funding for years to do this, to give them food and water. You have food and water. You have $1 million. Didn't do all in your job description to give it to them. The $1 million, $1 billion budgets that you have to help them. They suffered, and you are the world leaders have criminal charges by not doing everything in their powers in every country to help and promote the well-being of innocent children, orphans, humans victims of natural disasters. Could put funding into this UN relief efforts. They have the $1 billion, not stop funding your planes to fly to other countries to be in summit meetings. You can do it online. Is a modern day. Save the $1 billion and gas fuel for jets. Don't endanger your own life flying there. Put a mask on. Talk in the videos during summit to the other world leaders. Tell them what you're supposed to do to respect human dignity in your job. Remind them. Do this in your job every day as you're supposed to. You didn't do for years. Millions suffered because of it. Respect those. Tell them. Put the money and they put an account right away. And the funding put for jobs and homes built in these hot temperatures in Africa, millions of people, other countries, Kenya, other places, Nairobi. These are other countries there. These are beyond people, almost desert land living with no food and water. Millions orphans there in that country alone. Children, bright futures. The kindest hearts of all want to learn like everyone else, have no money for a shelter and no one even to take care of them. They have no parents. Millions second day night with no could fund get yourselves together, do your job or resign. File statements online and apologize to these kind-hearted humans. You went on vacation, take this money, take out a loan. If you did, you made money. These people suffered. You didn't do everything in your job description. The president of each country, even those countries, if they have the money, then get asked the other countries that have more money to give it to them. Humans main thing to have enough shelter, water, clean, and food, especially COVID times, even more nutritious food to find people there to help agriculture to grow proper nutrient, organic greenhouses. If it's a desert land, to put a building there so they grow proper vegetables without chemicals. Children need to grow. They sleep in safe, warm place. Nice caregivers. Take your money that you have the $1 billion budget. Stop flying in planes. Give it to them. They have a right to live there. You have your children you would take care of. You make the $1 million, but your job not doing, then you give back the money and give it to the children, to the household they are supposed to live in, and we're starving and dying of bacteria with no proper medical care. Every child that suffered there with were dehydrated, were had no right to be disrespected this way by you, the world leaders who had billions of dollars, who put the money wrongly into some military plane flying by B-2 stealth bomber and air show, funded and harmed my hearing, and shook the world and harmed the hearing of birds, animals, and a human in Toronto, and a hearing and physical harm the brain that is not easy, that can't be healed on humans and millions of children for an air show, which is not necessary and illegally bodily harm humans. That in itself harmed humans. There's no need for a B-2 stealth bomber that flies faster than the speed of sound and shook the world and harmed million people. To be funded, you could have took that money, the $1 billion, and gave it to Africa. The world is not in order. You world leaders are not doing what you are. You have 100 million criminal charges. Resign. You have a warrant for your arrest by 100 million people, victims that you had in your job description to the right, and you have to morally fix this. Find a better world leader. Hire, do what I told to fix, morally fix right if you can. You have already worked with certain people. If you're not gonna do that, hire someone who will gladly work and care to help and how use the money to live and need to live for food and shelter, and will actually help the million viewers people to help every day what they're trained to do in that job and have to do. Help restore right away. You have to act now. Watch the video as many times as needed till you get it through your thick skulls. You want to be respected as humans with proper health, proper shelter from cold. Half the world, Canada states, half the world too hot. Do the math. You want to be respected, health, shelter, food and water, nutrition, even more during COVID times. Do the research. You have the job supposed to do. It's not my job to tell you, but I'm doing it. Because you didn't do your job, and I suffered horrendously for over 24 years and seen other people suffering. You had no right to wrong me. You know, had the right to disrespect my God given dignity as a human. The wrong staff that you didn't care enough to hire proper ones, medical one, and others suffering there while you went on your vacation. You could have looked there and hired a nice one. It is easy to see that these people couldn't be hired. These psychiatrists don't even know English. They could, the boards, they're all illegally work. I stated the video there. Did anyone close this place? No, why not? Online people see bullshit online, but it is, and the governing head body is not doing their job to look in and have a hire one staff to clean it up after all years. Supposed to do throughout the years. Any misinformation out of respect of all humanity, especially medical information, COVID information, up to date ones, find one website. Even World Health Organization has some information about COVID up to date. The rest is wordy, can't even find it. This is not proper to humans. This study for years. I studied life sciences of all kinds, but I'm not a doctor, but I can figure out with all the studies with doctors know that even some people not that educated can know that on the online the World Health Organization, these humans are so educated that they have to do their job and inform people what I put these pins and told them use those. They didn't do the job. I was tortured alive. I cripple type this and have to be done right away. Post this on Twitter. So add the Pope, please, and world leaders to follow my page and look at it all there. And use these pins that I put in other sites. ANGELIKA, JAKIELA, Earth Angel. Give it to your followers. Put it every day. The main dignity one, the COVID up to date recent pins, the most information that has to be reminded and given, shown to all followers every day. As long as the virus goes on, people need reminders. They have busy lives. To put these signs in the stores, properly disinformation online retailers, one mask, make sure they sell one, give funding for people to buy it, make sure it's sold separately from an entire page of all the other fake ones, get them off the market. Do it now. Save the money, strain of human health, disrespect of life. Millions of people bought the fake ones. They still got the virus because they thought it prevented viruses, but it didn't. It only blocked out dust. Hardware stores sell these millions, dollar stores. Still, no signs put there. I put the video there. In Canada, Guelph City, Toronto, Dollaramas, the other ones, Dollar Plus stores, certain ones, these masks sold there, Walmart. They're not stated which ones are for viruses to protect. Most of them, hardware stores, are for dust. They look like the blue and white medical ones. They're still sold, but no signs telling and people buying them, thinking them to prevent viruses, which they clearly don't. They caught viruses wearing the masks, paid the money, and were harmed. 2 weeks suffered and died, lost the jobs. Animals, pets, loved ones crying. Children don't have parents ever again, are homeless. Million day and night in the cold, no one to work to feed them. This has been going on for over 4 years. It couldn't. Everyone do your job right as well. I'm an intelligent human to be respected, to be heard. I am a serious victim of it all. My intent is a humanitarian, speaking with the intent to all world leaders, to the Pope, Dalai Lama, all world religious leaders, all humans of all job descriptions that I mentioned in this video best I can. There's other ones, clearly, but these main ones in industries, especially clear up the song industry, take the millions of dollars, put it into Africa. Children homes right away could be done in one account. The people have funding for jobs right away, build the homes, and they have shelters as they deserve from the hot sun, from being burned in the sun, cancers, to high temperatures when they get sunburn and can't heal it. No hospitals to travel to, no creams to help heal sunburn, dehydrated. They have bacteria there, potential virus spread. The little children don't deserve it. They need pencils for to write. They don't even have, but they're children, right? To learn. A soccer ball, a white long t-shirt sleeve to help from the sun, proper material to invest your time, pants to give them, shoes. They can't afford this. They don't have parents who are lost. They don't have anyone to take care of them. Is not a second. For a million day and night, they sit there alone, have no food, become dehydrated, starving, and dying. They don't have. No one has the right to leave these children alone and starving. They have the $1 million resources, obligate under God. Every country has the $1 billion. They cannot say they don't. Stop funding the B-2 stealth bomber useless air show, harming people, and give it to them. They have a right to have food and shelter like you want to have. Dignity respected as a human being, a live human being. The Pope better do his job or resign. I'm against what he and the popes have been doing, and million people know this, but did nothing to say, and world leaders entirely. Not all in their job description did. did some things but not others to respect all humans, to make sure all proper even shelter, water, food for all. Nature efforts, put more efforts in helping animals during COVID. Main things to respect all humans as their right to be. This is not allowable. This has to be stopped. Rights that humans, rather, that wronged have to help the victims and right this. Lives have to be respected. Apologies need to be made. A lot. Asking for forgiveness. From the heart, sincerely, to the victims. Ask them for forgiveness for wronging them. In your job descriptions, you had no right to do, you knew. Ask for forgiveness under God. It is the human that is have to forgive who wronged them, and right the wrongs and forgiven, and put the funding, the money they made, and put it into funding rather for the victim to comfortably live enough what they deserve and extra if they need, out of respect of that human they had no right to wrong. Medically negligent staff, colleges, fix it all, takes a phone call, fire them, put a file warrant for the arrest, take them, put them in the prison cell. See how they like it with no food and water. Put them in ECT and stand in the room and ask them, do you want to live through this? Did this patient that you went there, did they need this? No. Why did you put a human there to suffer dehydrated for 8 hours fasting with no nutrients to the brain? With dehydrated vein, can't find the vein because there's no nutrients fluid left. Blood dehydrated, put the ECT, the needle there for the anesthesia general, and then tape 2 electrodes to a human brain that didn't have a child, doesn't need a woman, or a child, an old person that clearly doesn't need it, will harm the brain more, and electrocute the brain both sides. Cause a seizure, harm, electrocute the physicality. They put a gag, not a gag, some sponge or something in human mouth, so the human don't clench the teeth when electrocuted when they're knocked unconscious. And then wake up in a different room, not even informed that we're going to put you in a different room when you wake up. And this is the worst part. A human cannot remember anything and wake up in a totally different room, a different scene, and different staff there, or the recovery staff, not the one we're there, and don't know what's going on. These are heartless 10 staff in each clinic working there, need all fired. Every country. Online misinformation, ECT gone. The world leaders act now. Fix it. Get rid of it entirely. Change the name, even electroconvulsive torture. So humans not misinformed never look at again. It is not electroconvulsive therapy. The name in itself is electro, pertaining to electricity. Convulsive, convulse human, have muscle contractions, with no nutrients enough to contract after being dehydrated fasting for 8 hours. Is illegal human hours of torture. Bodily harm against freedom of choice. Not justified by God, there's no right reason for it ever, especially when a human doesn't consent to do this to them being done. Even when they consent, these people were misinformed, and this needs to be stopped. It does not help the person if a human has no nutrients fasting and harms the brain and has memory damage, and a human cannot work, is more depressed after, with not enough nutrients and not enough chemical transmitters in the first place when having to fast into the brain and then pass electrical current to a human dehydrated in veins and brain, and then not enough sodium and any other ions to function properly the brain, amino acids, and have electrical current pass through a dehydrated human. Electrical current when a human is not even hydrated enough with enough of these ions in the brain and neurotransmitters to begin with when dehydrated and fasting and starving before this procedure, get up early, not well rested, and get up with severe memory damage for life, recent memories and things they learn, loved ones, some 100 million, all the rest alive, milliseconds, cannot work, no ODSP, enough money. They are on the street freezing, disabled, can't remember anything, don't deserve this, like myself. no food can make to eat, can't get a hot chocolate money to buy to stay warm in the freezing cold. Not me depressed, but other people that depress have more depression. This does not cure depression. Is illegal. It is referred to patients for catatonia to help, but it doesn't. No one that's catatonic can go through ECT. Is illegal. Schizophrenia as a general term was put on. This is a general term, not a real mental concern. They cannot give ECT for a human that has stated schizophrenia or psychosis but done. This is not a real mental disorder. It's a word that human can't pronounce and is a general term. But illegally done in world and needs to be get rid of. But hasn't been done by all staff. They made the paycheck, so turn yourself in. Hire someone that will help. Give your paycheck back if you already used the money wrongly for vacation, anything, nice cars, sell it. You take out a loan, you have to, under by law on earth, give back money. To the hiring college, make sure and or give it to the victims. Put it into disability funding and housing. This is no housing. People are on waiting lists for 10 years. Not 10 seconds, have a brain damage, and 10 years waiting to have an opening to stay in a room in a house with some other disabled people, to be taken care and helped there. While the $1 million CAMH's buildings open could easily fund this and apologize to all patients illegally wrong and give them the $1 million they need to buy the basic house and food to eat that they could have made themselves. Each one of them have to do, whoever's running this, the CAMH closed down entirely. They illegally have praises on signs of their staff on big paying $1 million for the posters of a nurse that I saw wrong me. Need taken down. No one's doing anything. They say they do go work in community or not. They harmed lives. Everyone do your job. All world leaders, the Pope, Pope Francis. Hire people clearly as stated that are educated but young enough to actually do their job as long as needed. They have good memories, well rested, obviously. If someone is too old, if they're really not well rested and well fed, think this through, like most popes too old, then cannot do the job to help run the world. Like this is common sense in itself. Archdiocese head office, get rid of them, fire them. Hire some people that care. They need money for job as it is and will actually do something what the job description is and help 100 million people right away. People have online, these people online now, there's a Twitter, social media, people train in different job descriptions and have more further training making on websites could easily help some million people to make a site to help someone easily versus a pope that says the right by mail to send him and he'll reply to people. I already sent this, it's been years and don't even reply to human that needs help right away and there's no contact number. But he's every day on the Twitter there and the little shows doing. They comment 1 or 2 times online. It helps some on God's side wordings, but then the rest he doesn't actually helping all humans in his job description to do. Almost nothing, and the previous popes, Benedict and all the other ones. The other one, the Vatican exorcists, they didn't take down on all books, as I stated, illegally have misinformation. There's no such thing as demonic possession. The right videos, Vatican ones about this, had to be taken down. Illegally making money for years still from online is misinformation, dangerous to humans. Had to be taken down. I speak the truth. I was on the earth affected by certain things. ANGELIKA, beyond my control, and a humanitarian or an angel, tell the truth and told. I put a video there, an article. Please, the Pope, whoever world leaders, get it to the other religious world leaders, Dalai Lama. Fix this, send to all world leaders, other dioceses, fix this. Read the article, remove all misinformation online. Stop the sales of these harmful, scary movies that are based on no fact under God at all, are true and not in any way. All of the right movies, all Emily Rose movies, all of these, anything to do with exorcism movies, all fake, not based on any truth. All exorcist horror movies are harmful to human health. Do your job, world leaders. Get rid of them entirely. Been on Earth for too many years. People see this, could invest into some actors that care and see a nice movie and educate someone. It's better off for humanity. It is your job to do this for years. People suffering suffer. I don't even want to see, and people see the ads and children online for these exorcist movies that are not based on any truth and wrong under Jesus, stating they cast out demons with Jesus under the cross, which is not true. Demons are separate from humans entirely. They're not inhumans. They don't possess humans. Humans separate lives, soul, brain, physicalities. There's $1 million being put into these made still. People misinformed, commenting, wasting their time. The Vatican not doing their job for years. Clean it up, told. Do your job. Help the sale. I respect my life. I was wronged on earth because you didn't do your job online to maintain anything that's right there and to get rid of the wrong misinformation for years. I'm a victim of it all. And I didn't deserve it. And if you world leaders and popes did your job, I wouldn't be wronged. You have the criminal charges against my life and 100 million people. They legally can get a warrant for your arrest for harming me. All the other people not helped if bodily or physically harmed that warrant criminal charges and other charges, disrespect of dignity, human rights, human freedom of choice, medical staff wrong me. I didn't choose. These are serious laws in an earth that cannot be disrespected. Humans have patient rights. No one looking into this. The patient rights in Canada, Toronto, barely have any people that are serious, have to work there to respect humans, to help them, to find lawyers for them if needed. Put more funding for real medical negligence lawyers. To get rid of these right away, respect humans, to put those in prison that harm them so they have money to live right away, and then their help right away. And then as a result, then human out of respect doesn't have to file complaints where they get no money back. The colleges can't do that. They're making $1 million putting it off and human suffering. They can't say that they hired them. They're the ones who had to, under God, hire the proper doctors but didn't. They said they're not going to give money to the wrong victims. This can't be done. These were illegally harmed patients. If they hired the right doctors, the human wouldn't be harmed. They have money to live themselves, but can't work, and are not giving money. The College of Physicians Surgeons of Ontario, for example, College of Nurses Ontario, 50 staff them around me. They made $1 million. Well, they harmed me. I didn't even need. I lost 20 years and live on street. And then I have no money to live, even complain, but they wrong my life. They cannot do this, so the world leaders look into this. Tell them to give funding for the college. Look into it right away. Respect the patients. Do your jobs. The ones hiring these college employers. These ones are not doing their jobs. They made $1 million on a warm home, nice family, buy nice stuff for the children. I would have children and have my own home. I'm not lazy either, and save lives doing research. I couldn't because they're not doing their job. You didn't do your job to hire them. I wronged, and 1 million people are wronged. It's true. Do your job, right the wrongs you didn't do right in your job description. Everyone, ask for forgiveness who you wronged, and you really have the heart to do it and really mean it, and make sure you never want to intend to wrong any human like that again. You take the money you made. If you get a loan, you under law on earth and under God have to do. Help the victims, put funding what your job has to put to help the victims as much as needed, more even some nice things for humans that a medical negligence lawsuit would win for this human and right to have money to live. That they lost, emotionally harmed, but cannot afford 30,000 for one day of court and the thousands of dollars for a lawyer. They were the ones wrong. They obviously can't afford or disabled. It cannot be done in Canada, but is in Ontario, Toronto. Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister, look into this, fix immediately. American President Biden in your country, Mayo Clinic is not doing everything right either. These are well known. Harvard, if there's affiliated psychiatrists there are that are negligent, fire them. You enter your job, you'll save the lives, and you have to do. You're not doing your jobs. There's research facilities illegally doing wrong strain research, endangering the lives potential of million people. We're doing unethical research on COVID, making mutant strains that are not ethical allowed on Earth, entirely wrong under God. And they're not doing anything to look into, make sure they don't do this, close it down, sterilize it so that the virus is gone, entirely destroyed, this mutant form that will never doesn't have any vaccines for it. If it was let loose, a million people would suffer horrendously, and there's no cures. It is not allowable, but goes on. Other countries too, doing illegal, unethical, beyond wrong research. Who hires these? Cannot under God do it, and but are doing. And I cannot be hired, but someone's hiring them, not doing their job, respecting dignity to in these facilities. Take away their $1 million, close it down, do your job right away, save humanity. You don't want to have some kind of really mutant change form strain of COVID that's going to travel faster to people and harm your lungs and the breathing and even more worse symptoms for too long days, 14 days and nights struggling with fevers and ill for then die, or your child or a dog. Think of it this way: till you want to be treated with respect, health, shelter, healthcare proper research done, ethics. See how you want to be treated. And if those people aren't doing their jobs you hired, fire them. Make sure they right the wrongs. File apologize to the victims. Ask them for forgiveness and give the money back. Put the funding in the job that they're supposed to do. To the victims wronged, so they have enough money and luxuries enough to be respected and happy in life as they were to be treated and not harmed ever. And now right to be harmed is illegal, is a disrespect of a value, dignity of a human being, animals, and nature. All world leaders, please listen to this. Excuse me. Make sure you respect all human dignity. All lives valuable. Do everything in your job description. Make sure you hire those under you. If they're not, or you're not, you did not do right. Fix what I told you need to fix. Everything has to be done in restored order in the universe, in the earth, immediately. It hasn't been done for years. None of you all did your job. As I stated, even to state, I put a video this to remind all employers all times. It is the most important thing, and to maintain and keep the proper respect of all as all right to be respected and treated fairly and cared for by every human affects another life, their employer and million people under it. Even TV shows watch one human affects. Keep in mind these things to think of. Write it down that you're supposed to be doing. 100 million viewers tune in every country to world leaders on the news in Canada, CTV News, CBC News. They have humans managers making TV shows. Make sure they're wearing masks, putting proper shows. They keep in mind there's a million people viewing it. Make sure there's proper subject matter. If it's problematic, tell them not to put it on. They have no right to disrespect, offend anyone, even inadvertently. Do your jobs. Clean up the song industry. They've been made too many already. These albums there for over since '90s. Some of them beyond wrong, that are morally wrong. That a million people suffered in clubs, went and killed people because of the song lyrics, and wrongly couldn't, and people lost parents and other people. Drunk industry of alcohol and cigars, which is already all humanity knows. No more cigars is harmful to health, but was promoted still in this industry. They made $1 million under God, morally wrong, can't. World leaders, do your job, close, shut it down. These people made their money beyond years. They're sinning against human and God and not morally doing right under Jesus. They have no right to offend anyone, to disrespect their dignity, be morally offensive and verbally abusive and this and are put on the main sites and children seeing it. No one wants to be and no right to be disrespected, offended these ways. These are very, very abusive content rather, partial nudity, lesbianism promoted. These are the well-known, started off as children singers, all women, or 100 of them, well-known in world. Have not dressed appropriately, have hanging out all body parts, and have the men all and promoting their all wrong content. Then I go to their husband and wife and their news on their magazines, wasting human time, and the children buying their disgusting clothing, tank tops, booty shorts, and dancing like them. Wrong examples. And then they make the $1 million live in luxury while these people buying these CDs and online CDs still is 20 years since even some 1990s. And under Jesus' name, God have crosses. This is morally beyond wrong to sin in themselves, need to keep it to themselves. To whoever hiring these ones to fire them finally. They even beyond made the money to say put it back. Fire them, take their money. They didn't do something morally right. To put it or finish, put apologies to all the people, viewers, say we morally set a wrong example. We are very sorry. We had no right to disrespect the million children. Whoever's selling these half tank tops for 5 years old girls and these booty shorts, half their butt hanging out, and their little children is selling this because there's a well-known song act singers, the ladies are dancing half on borderline porn stars with the bikini tops, all of them in half shorts with their butt hanging out. These are not properly clad, intelligent humans that started off on God's side as gospel singers. These are morally wrong humans. These same songs for 2 decades is 100 million days and nights. They made beyond the $250, wronging humanity, offending them all. The Pope did nothing to prevent it, had to. Give his paycheck back, fire him. President Biden, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, look into this. All other countries, you have a moral responsibility under God and by law to do if you don't resign. You cannot disrespect humanity anymore. Another million ways you did. You did something right. The other under your job description, many 100 million suffered different ways, like myself. You are not proper world leaders. The ones before you didn't do your job entirely. You know you studied for years what you were supposed to do. Respect humanity, all morally right ways. You have the $1 billion funding. You didn't always use it to help humanity. Respect all humans for proper health care, shelter, help the less fortunate in other countries. You are disgraces. You morally wronged humans and no right to do. You harmed humans illegally. This is human torture. Is not justified by God. Is morally wrong, ethically wrong. A disrespect of a life of dignity of a human and millions of children and adults for years. Please resign immediately, and Pope Francis resign. I don't want to hear your names again. I'm speaking the truth, and you have to respect this. From the heart and soul, told of a human being, intelligent humanitarian. I'm a public figure myself. I am a victim of you all, and 100 million people are. You had no right to make me suffer in many ways over years. And online, millions of misinformation about masks, wrong singers, not doing your job, no cleaning, making sure clean everything, online moral content. You didn't close the churches. You didn't close every place, eatery. You endangered lives. You have all masks sold not proper online. You endangered and million people lives suffered and lost. You didn't do everything during the pandemic for 4 years. This is 100 million day and night. You had no right to disrespect the dignity of myself and 100 million people. You chose to do under God right to help humans. You did not. Give back your paycheck. Find the other previous prime ministers during COVID and the other president. The current ones, Pope Francis, resign. You are not doing under God your job at all. You have one or two things. You do not do everything in your under God morally obligated as a human representative of God to do. You are too old, to run this basically as a almost run the world with your job authority and to deal with world leaders. You know this. You cannot do your job. You didn't respect my life. I emailed you and wrote letters. I am a human. I have a real archdemon on earth, and you're supposed to and do everything in your power to help me. I have no anything I emailed, send the letters. You didn't do right away anything in your power, resources, and archdiocese, even too hard to contact me and help me for years. You don't do anything right on your online site for the Vatican to stand up for yourself under God and clean it up. To respect all viewers of all religions. You didn't do anything and everything in your job description, millions that you actually had to do as Pope. And the previous popes, take your lazy self from the Vatican, give the money back, retire, go to prison. And all world leaders, stop disrespecting human lives. You have no right to do. I tell the truth, so you better listen. And 100 million people told you. These are serious offenses that you have against human lives. You have no right to do, and you know. Put the funding properly into the victims, disability, medical negligence lawyers. Close down all these pharmaceutical illegal companies, FDA entirely. Start a new entire administration of caring humans that care, fund proper medical treatment advice, get rid of dangerous antipsychotics, clearly illegal chemicals that don't help anyone, but you promoted. You didn't put off the market. They have some restriction. This is not allowable. These are not allowed at all to be sold. You harmed my life and 100 million people. You have no right to do. I suffered for 24 years on the street. I have no home. I lost my university degree. I couldn't study, and after studies doing my research that would actually save lives. 100 million people for 24 years because of you. I was wrong because you didn't keep these morally wrong singers offline and on the markets. Other people wrong, seen as affected, other people killed, wronged, harmed illegally. You didn't do everything to keep a morally right example. The Pope Francis, Justin Trudeau, prime ministers in other countries. Diesel's royalty there, making the shows. They have the opinion viewers can do something intelligent and stop acting. They're under God, have to do right. They're not doing everything right. They always shows and acting. Millions of dollars. The poor people they could help. Stop making useless magazines. Put some informational pieces or stop selling it. Do something right. The people suffering with the poor children with the disgusting material blankets in the stores. People leave. How is that helping people? You have to make sure they sell something proper. Care for them. Fire them if they don't. Close the store. They don't sell the mask, put a fine. Make sure they give money to the victims that sold the wrong mask and they died and suffered. The children don't have money, parents to live for a million days the rest of their life. Poor crying, where's my mommy? 100 million people died because you lazy, disgraceful humans on earth. The world leaders did nothing. Almost in your job description to do. You do your show summit, one, two things, help people. You have the $1 billion, but you don't do anything else to help humans all the time. Is your job. Resign, go to prison, hire someone that cares and respects a million people, will put the funding and everything rectified in seconds, days, and everyone healthy, happy, and proper medical care as they deserve. And all victims right or their wrongs, apologize, put formal statements to all humanity they deserve, say we weren't doing in our job description to do right, we are rectifying this, we're taking our paychecks, putting funding where it's needed, help all those in Africa, orphans, people, victims of COVID, have no family in our countries, poor, animals wrong. You didn't do your job, fix it, care, then resign. No one wants to see you again. You wronged a million people and no right to do. And Pope Francis resigned. No one wants to see you. Is the truth? You didn't do everything right. You endangered a million people, 70,000 rather, in St. Peter's Square because the Pope died. And you put How Dare You Holy Mary's name separately there when you didn't do a morally right example under God and say, the Holy Mary's example, I'm wearing a mask to respect all humanity, and I close St. Peter's Square to prevent the spread of COVID. You had to do that. You didn't do it. You endangered 70,000 people. No masks. Is online. Million viewers. YouTube. Go take your eyes and go see it. How would you like to have a virus and suffer 2 weeks and die? Well, you wouldn't. Then lose your family member. Do your jobs, world leaders, or resign. And every job too. Respect all humans as you want to be respected. Right your wrongs, apologize, ask for forgiveness, and morally save your souls on earth. You are judged under God, religious or not, in respect of Jesus. You have no right to sin against anyone. ANGELIKA, JAKIELA, I'm telling you this, do the right thing. Show this video, watch it as many times needed, and send to all employers of all in the world, especially world organizations, FDA, and all world leaders and Pope. Please help me. I don't have a resource contact number. If you do, send it to me and I will do it myself. Act now, save lives, February 2023. You are morally obligated under God to do. You are stated by a human public figure that is a humanitarian. On the level would be an advisor to the Pope, and I'd overthrow and run and do the Pope job myself and do better off. The whole world would be, rather, if I was there doing my job or a caring human, and deal with leaders and mention this information I recently mentioned and other things for years. Thank you for listening to this video. Please do the right thing, listen intently. I made the previous videos. It's been already months, some days. You had to act already. Do your jobs, view it as many times. I have an account on Twitter. I need the followers I put there for the Pope to view, but I don't have access to any of their accounts to help me to get this information pins to them that they have viewers, followers to add to put to the whole world. That have to be their job to do to put this online. Please see Pinterest. ANGELIKA made these pins, tortured alive, but on God's side and not protected, but on God's side to help all humanity, all the world leaders, the Pope. It is out of best interest of all humanity that I act as humanitarian to prevent the health failing of all. Humans, animals, living creatures, and all creation. Immediately, every second counts. Do what is right. Protect this video, download it. Please, my efforts what I did and I can go to waste. And share this to all humans immediately, as well of all job titles in the world. If can, translate to other nationalities, countries. Please help Human Earth Angel, humanitarian, restore the respect of all, reminder to all how every human should be respected and have to respect others. A dignity for all time. Then everyone will be treated fairly, have restored homes, proper disable, everything rectified, forgiven, results proper morally. Everyone will get along, be at peace, have enough food, the orphans not alone. All victims were wronged, have right done to them as they deserve, proper care, caregivers, money to live then for years. Everyone will be happy, and everybody will be at peace and have heaven on earth as they rightly deserve finally.